What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Congratulations, gang. You made it to the end of the week. Friday show. Hopefully things are going well. Hopefully your week is rounding out nicely. You're done with work. A couple minutes late getting started. I was just updating our Vegas board, getting a couple lineups taken care of, updating the website. But we're here as we get started. Hat tip to Mr. Barrios. You've won this round. Congratulations. Monster game out of Jose Barrios last night after we were definitely deriding him a little bit during the show. Totally justified in everything that we said, but definitely one of those days we came up on the wrong side of that equation. Athletics completely shut down. Didn't do any favors for my lineups last night. Hit a couple spots, but by and large, not happy with yesterday's 4-gamer and the results compared to how things look for us on this side of lock. But back at it today. That's why they play the games, as they say, and that's why we got to just jump right back on things. Lot to talk about today. 12-gamer. Going to try and not burn too much time. We'll see how that goes. Andy's here. Anthony Taylor's here hanging out. Good to see you guys. Welcome. Let me just get us rolling. I'm just going to jump over to that Vegas board that I just got done updating. We're going to start talking about this one out of the gate. People can catch up as they trickle in. No Gundacker today, unfortunately. As he said, if we started talking about this slate like right now, we would finish sometime like next Friday. That's why we started with a 4-gamer yesterday. That was a lot of fun doing that show yesterday, though. Bet as the results went, I feel like it was a total blast having gone on and doing that show. We talked a little bit afterward, and we're talking about, let's get a regular thing set up so that we can do that kind of weekly or thereabouts, see what we can put together. But it was a lot of fun. Nice having somebody to talk to about these things. That's why you guys got to drop questions and stuff in chat. Helps the conversation flow a little bit. Beyond the Rabbit Hole, how you doing? Beyond the Rabbit Hole says, good afternoon, Terry, and all ready to take down some contests. I like it. Yeah, Andy, monster slate. That's kind of to the point. 12-gamer. We lost the 13th game. That was the Orioles and the White Sox. That one got moved, I guess, earlier in the day. I think that one's playing like right now. Would have been a playable spot there. I actually like the look of some of those bats on the Orioles side. But we still got a lot to work with here. Some monster totals, including last night's killer Blue Jays lineup. 5.16 on the boards. Got them pushed back up toward the top of the slate again today. They're going up against Jeffrey Springs. It's a very gettable spot. They did just lose Anthony Santander to the injured list. It's a collection of hitters. It's going to come up kind of looking the same way as it did yesterday, where fantasy point projection-wise, it's difficult to get the Nathan Lukeses of the world hitting 9th despite a healthy total to gigantic fantasy projections. It would be wrong to do it that way. So I think on Vegas, they look a little bit better than maybe what their true ceiling looks like, but we did just see them go off for a ceiling game just last night in what was going in the highest run total spot of the day. But we talked about how that lineup clicks together for fantasy. We got the big day out of Ernie Clement down lineup yesterday. You catch that guy as part of your stacking, then you're off and running with the other guys being the obvious guys. But obviously, monster day there, and people that went to the obvious spot got paid yesterday. Could come up that way again. Springs has been very, very gettable in most of his starts this year. Chris Bassett going for the Blue Jays. I have the A's again looking stronger than the Vegas board might suggest at 3.93 implied runs. Bassett, good but gettable. 5 earned runs, for example, over 4 at Tampa Bay in his last start. Gave up 9 hits, struck out just 2, walked 2 along the way. But 3 6 strikeout games prior to that in 3 straight starts. One of those was a bumpy outing against the Angels. Just seems like the A's profile well against him, but it's one maybe we don't get too excited and over the top about. Angels and the Guardians. This is a monster coin flip spot for the slate, in my opinion. Luis L. Ortiz, the pitcher for the Guardians, has really good stuff. He has really good strikeout stuff. Throwing that up against the Angels could be dynamite. The Angels are at a 4.01 implied total. Not very high. They are a hard-hitting team. Ortiz is completely unreliable for walks. We'll get into it. He's given up plenty of earned runs along the way this year, but he spiked some really big strikeout totals, and he's got great-looking stuff. So, kind of into it because he's very, very cheap. On the Angels side, it's Jose Soriano pushing some upside toward the Guardians, 4.5 run total for them. That said, Soriano is typically playable. He usually will give you 6 or 7 innings of mid-board type quality. Not a tremendous strikeout option. Sometimes decent for keeping the ball in the yard. He hasn't given up a home run in his last 6 starts, for example. Cuts launch angle pretty effectively. Maybe somebody that's a little off the radar, but probably more into at least the top end of the Guardians lineup. The Giants pulling a healthy total, 4.81 implied runs. Very interested in them. They're going up against Cal Quantrill, soft-tossing, highly gettable pitcher there. And it's Kyle Harrison on the mound for the Giants. I would be really interested in this spot if they didn't pull him after 4 innings, 17 hitters, just 2 earned runs that came on a homer, 4 strikeouts, and no walks in his most recent outing against Washington. We were fully expecting a 5th inning there, and we didn't get it. I think we get 5 here today probably, but I think our true ceiling is probably, again, kind of capped for Kyle Harrison, unfortunately. Kid's talented. He was coming up one of the most highly regarded lefties in baseball. A little bit bumpy to start out, but a lot of talent there. Rockies on the road against David Peterson. Definitely want to target some David Peterson shares. He's been working deep into ball games. He's very effective for strikeouts, facing one of the worst lineups or the worst lineup in baseball, one of the best strikeout spots. Rockies once again under a 3-run implied total. That's just been a regular thing these days, regardless of kind of who they're facing or where they're playing. 5.18 implied total on the Mets side in an 8-run game. They're getting the lion's share of that as monster favorites there. Maybe a little bit of tricky math there as far as pushing them up that high relative to some of the other spots on the board, but they're facing Kyle Freeland, who is incredibly gettable. They've got a very, very good lineup. So love the Mets. They're showing some power upside among the obvious, the usual suspects. Definitely interested in some Mets bats, not so much on the Rockies side. The Red Sox and the Braves, another showdown between these two teams. Braves bats are coming up big. They're facing Lucas Giolito, who has been had a very good outing in his most recent one. Got to give him credit for that against Baltimore. He gave up 6 hits, but struck out 6, walked 2 over 7 innings, no earned runs. It was his best start of the year. If he comes out with that kind of stuff, it's going to change the equation here a little bit. But 9.5 runs in the game. The Braves pretty highly favored, mid-5 board total. All that power in the lineup. One of the home run picks of the day is from, or the home run pick of the day is one of the hitters from that team. Love the upside. Grant Holmes is on the mound for the Braves going up against a good Red Sox lineup. Holmes has been effective. He's also been working deep, 6 1/3, 6 innings, 7 innings in his last 3 running. Very good starts. One earned run, 2 earned runs, and 1 earned run against the Nationals at Fenway against the Red Sox and against the Padres. So really good stretch. Playable at worst, but it is a good Red Sox lineup that I feel like, why do we necessarily want to tangle with them? Mid-4s implied total on their side. Cardinals and the Rangers, pretty high-end total on the St. Louis side, once again, for that mid-board type lineup. But a 4.79 implied total is difficult to ignore. They're going up against Jack Leiter. High-end pitching prospect. He's had his good days. He's had a couple bad days. I wouldn't write him off. I wouldn't get too over the top about Cardinals bats. I think everything in that back and forth is probably going to come up playable. And then Matthew Liberatore on the mound facing the low end at this point Rangers, but hopefully the boost to that lineup with their returning star, maybe a rising tide effect there. There are some very, very talented hitters. It's just everybody in that lineup continues to kind of scuffle along. Mid-4s implied total. That seems like a 4 cornersy kind of game. Detroit at KC. It's Casey Mize on the mound for Detroit. He's been terrific this season. Not a particularly high-end strikeout pitcher, and not a very good strikeout matchup. That would be the one bump in the road there. But 6, maybe 7 very good clean innings out of Casey Mize with a handful of strikeouts is more than on the table. I think he's playable. 4.19 implied total on the other side, though, does reflect the quality of the Kansas City lineup. And then Detroit, one of the better lineups in the sport, 4.40 implied total for them. They're going up against Seth Lugo. You could say very similar things about Lugo as I said about Mize. Not the best strikeout pitcher in the world. The Tigers are definitely a better strikeout target for him to find a few along the way, but works deep into games. Typically gives you 6 or more clean innings. So very high-end pitching matchup there against 2 very, at least good to decent offenses. Decent to good offenses, I should say. Rays and the Astros. Low-end total for the Rays. They're facing Framber Valdez, who, when he's on form, is spectacular at limiting runs and power. And if you take the power away from the Rays, has an impact. They made an odd decision today, and they sent down Chandler Simpson, despite him getting on base, as we've highlighted, him being third in baseball in stolen bases with 19 in just 120 some odd plate appearances, 5 over the last 2 games. They decided to go Jake Mangum now that he's back from the IL and send the kid back down. One of the most dynamic players in baseball for my money, but hey, that's their decision. Don't love the Rays against Framber. Definitely interested in some Ryan Pepio going up against the Astros. I think that's an interesting spot. He's got enough. He's been working 6-7 innings in each of his last 4 starts, finding some strikeout stuff here and there, but also coming up empty for Ks in some spots. It's not a safe spot, but I think it's worth gambling on. And a 4.13 implied total for the Astros going the other way. I think 3 out of 4 spots here, Framber, the Astros bats, and Ryan Pepio, all in play. The Rays bats maybe a little bit more limited against the very good run-suppressing lefty. Pirates in the Pods, Nick Pivetta, Mitch Keller. I think we can grab some Padres bats against an imminently gettable forever Mitch Keller, but we know that Mitch is capable of breaking off good starts. He's had 3 very good ones in a row, just 4 earned runs over his last 3 starts while working 7 innings against the Mets, 6 against the Reds, 6 against the Brewers, 8, 5, and 7 strikeouts working forward in time through those. So, I mean, there is quality there. It's just a bad target for him. 4.38 implied total for the Pods, 4.39. Definitely suggesting some run upside. They're a relatively low strikeout team in a high danger spot. On a deep board, it feels more like a why would we with Mitch Keller kind of a spot. Pivetta probably more interesting against one of the lower end lineups in baseball. We've kind of been finding success just targeting these Pirates day after day. So I think Pivetta is definitely an interesting option for that. 7 strikeouts over 6 innings with 1 earned run in each of his last 2 starts against Seattle and Atlanta. And this Pirates team is no Seattle or Atlanta. Nationals at the Diamondbacks. The D-backs pulling one of the best totals on the board. 5.41 implied going up against Jake Irvin. Love that spot for the Diamondbacks bats. Definitely have some of them in my placeholder lineups right now. Definitely a good spot there. Merrill Kelly on the mound. Decidedly mid-board type pitcher. I'll give him average, somewhere in that territory. Had a monster 11 strikeout game 2 games ago, but it came against the Rockies, so you kind of at least discount that a little bit. More pedestrian, 4 earned runs in 6 innings at St. Louis. Struck out 6, walked 1 in his last start. That's more what you typically get out of Merrill Kelly, but he can have his good days against a mid-board type Nationals team with a couple stars up top. I don't love it, but he's probably playable. Interesting one in the Twins and Mariners game. We've got Brian Wu on the mound for the Mariners. That seems obvious. Wu has been tremendous through most of this season. Definitely a targetable Twins lineup. They're getting Byron Buxton back, so they get a little quality there, but there's always going to be strikeouts in that Twins lineup. So I like the upside for Wu. And then on the other side of that, it's Zebby Matthews making his 3rd start. He only went 3, then 4 in his 2nd start, faced 17 and 18 hitters. Had a monster 9 strikeout game against the Royals in just 4 innings. Struck out 9 of 18 hitters. That's the upside with this kid. He is a very talented pitching prospect, one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. There's lurking downside, though. He gave up 4 earned runs over 3 at the Brewers in his first start, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. Definitely expect him to see some growing pains along the way. We're seeing some of that coming through the model for the already just good Mariners lineup, but we know that we can exploit downside in that Mariners lineup too. They're coming in at a sub-4 total. It's an interesting back and forth with the fantasy projections versus the Vegas total in that one. And then we round things out with the World Series rematch. Max Fried, Tony Gonsolin, like the Yankees side of this one. Yanks draw on the higher implied total. They're favored on the road in Los Angeles against the deadly Dodgers. Gonsolin probably not going to work too deep. Maybe you get 5. He went 5 in multiple outings. So 5, maybe there's a 6th if all goes very much to plan, but I doubt it. Max Fried, definitely if things are going to plan, 6, maybe 7 plus. That's who Max is. The strikeout upside is probably not a big feature for Max today. We're looking for clean innings there. His strikeout stuff has been up. They've made some tweaks to his pronation point in his grip, and it's had some impact there. So a little bit more K upside than there was for Max, but just a bad opponent for it. And I don't know how much I want to chase him against the Dodgers at high pricing, but a deep slate, a lot to work with. Obviously a couple dramatic bright points with 4 teams above a 5 implied total, a couple others chasing. Most of the home teams favored, but we got a couple road teams that are very appealing as well. Lot to work with. Trav likes the cards as the sneaky stack of the day with Newt Bar leading the way. Little poem there. Beyond the Rabbit Hole's got Nudie in his lineups. I like Newt Bar. That would be my favorite bet from that team right now. You know, Ivan Herrera down lineup has been good. We'll get to it. We got some lineups just landed. Excellent. What are we starting here with? Let's talk pitchers. So a little bit different. DraftKings FanDuel, we do have David Peterson a little bit higher on the FanDuel slate than Brian Wu, but very, very close on both sites. You also have Nick Pivetta right in that mix on both sites. Framber Valdez, not too highly offset. So it's another day where we've got a really stark, all the expensive guys look great. Most of them are in good to great matchups. I just love the upside of David Peterson against Colorado. He's very good, and that Colorado team is very bad and just pushes monster fantasy scores. So that's an interesting spot. Pivetta against the Pirates, I can definitely see paying off as the second best spot of the day. I just love Wu's talent, but the Twins are probably better than either of these teams. It's close between the Twins and the Rays. We know more. We have a longer track record with Framber. There's probably more reliable, keep the offense in check ability with Framber with a similar kind of a ceiling. So really, any which way you want to go out of those four guys, if you needed a tiebreaker, I would say just go with the chalk and target the weaker lineups, target the Rockies and the Pirates. But all those guys are good. All those guys are in play. And then you can see where Max is salary-wise. He's with those guys salary-wise, higher priced than those guys on DraftKings. He's been terrific this year. I don't want to take away anything that he's done. But there is a ding for facing the Dodgers, and you can see it in the cutoff in the projection. A couple points on DraftKings. It's more stark on FanDuel the way the points stack up. It's the same difference, but it just stands out a little bit more on the FanDuel slate. But that's a cut, and he is not coming at a discount. He'll probably give you a popularity discount from any of those top four guys, and you are getting an extreme high-end pitcher. So I think he's very much playable. And it comes down to what's your trade-off between still paying a high price, paying up to be different kind of a thing. For me, I would tend to go the other direction and look for a lower owned, cheaper guy with maybe similar upside to what Max might offer against the Dodgers. And then we get to my interesting guy, Luis Ortiz. Again, this did not work out the last time. He has not been great. Where is he? This game, I was all the way at the bottom of the page. Last time out, 3 earned runs, struck out just 3 and walked 5 against the Detroit Tigers at Detroit. The start before that at Cincinnati, 2 earned runs on 6 hits, 1 home run allowed, walked 2, but struck out 7. 6 innings against the Phillies, 1 earned run on a solo homer, 4 hits, 9 strikeouts, 2 walks. Had a pair of 8 strikeout games back end of April. Had a 10 strikeout game against the Royals in mid-April. Dude's got very good strikeout stuff. He's wildly unreliable, but there are a lot of strikeouts in that Angels lineup, and he checks in at 6,000 from the bargain bin on DraftKings today and projects basically the same as Max Fried, Chris Bassett, Merrill Kelly, Grant Holmes, etc. That is a bargain against the Angels. It could go completely haywire. But, I mean, just look at the price difference over to FanDuel. That's a cheap FanDuel price, too. But this is a dramatically cheap DraftKings price. If nothing else, SP2 of the day, easily. I am going to play him on FanDuel. Currently, I actually have... Who the hell did I use? I'm trying to remember. It's not him. There was somebody else that popped in there that fit. Can't remember. Oh, that's who it is. It's a lower. Currently, I'm using in my placeholder lineup a lower projected Ryan Pepio. Just because it filled that salary by another $300 when I put it together initially. But I'm probably, if I was just playing that one lineup, I probably would switch it to Ortiz, and that's with a 4-4 on FanDuel. That would give me, I think, 600 left over for that lineup. So maybe I upgrade one of those positions with a one-off. But I really like that option for upside, for ceiling. It's got a tremendous basement. It's one of those situations where you're walking through. It's not even, we're out of the basement. We're into the jungle now, right? We're walking through the jungle and we see the big thing and we think we can walk over it, but it also might just fall apart and there's a bunch of spikes and we fall into the big pit with the tiger in it. So buyer beware. Chris Bassett, I see a high danger spot there against the Athletics. There's a lot of power there. Bassett's good enough to get through it. 9,000, I don't know that that's cheap enough for me. I would have some across 150 lineups for sure. I think up to 10% of that is perfectly fine. He's good enough for that, and that's not an obnoxious price. 86 on DraftKings is maybe more usable as a cheap SP1 or a high-end SP2. Probably more usable as like the cheap SP1. In fact, if you wanted to do something like that, I don't think that's completely nuts. And that applies to any of these $8,000 guys through here. Kelly against the Nats is fine. Holmes against the Red Sox is fine. Liberator against the Rangers is okay. He's been effective enough. Those are kind of high prices for him, I feel like. Out of this entire group, especially with him projected at the bottom of that group for the most money, those are the most objectionable prices, I think. Maybe I just have a weird lingering respect for that Texas lineup when I shouldn't. And then we come back around to Zebby, who again, really interesting. That is a very high-end pitching prospect with excellent strikeout stuff when it's going right. This is his third start at this level this year. 7,200, though, is downright interesting against a Mariners team that is an excellent offense but does have strikeouts in it. On the right day, with a good pitcher who can find whiffs, you can punch that team out pretty aggressively and put up a big score. I don't think it would be completely nuts to do that and just put together the two cheap upside plays. It's dangerous. It's not in any way safe. But if you're building a tournament lineup that's one of a bunch, pop that together and see what you can build, because that's 13-2, 6,600 a piece for two upside strikeout pitchers who could give you big days. And you're getting away from all that chalk. Jose Soriano against the Guardians, I don't love, but I do like his upside to keep the scoring maybe in check a little bit more than it might look like. If he keeps the ball in the yard, he can usually find success, and then our fantasy scoring comes and goes with the strikeouts. Seth Lugo, you could say similar things. Kyle Harrison, as mentioned, even though he's cheap, I don't get as enthusiastic about it as I would about like Zebby with some of his upside with Luis Ortiz being even cheaper. Kyle Harrison is as or more talented as both of those guys. He's probably more talented than Ortiz for sure. It's close between him and Zebby, but I don't know what that depth is going to look like. It's a great target. Even if it's 5 innings for 6,800 for 7,100, there are arguments to be made. So he's not off the board. But I just question what the true ceiling looks like versus the true ceiling of like this mid-board part. Obviously, these guys have more. Keller, I don't trust him as far as I could throw him against the Pods. That's a bad spot. 7,700 is very different on DraftKings, though, than 91 on FanDuel. 91 single pitcher is a little challenging for me to find the upside with Keller. At 77 as, a mid-board type SP2, if you're going cheap, or, mid-price on your two pitchers, I think he's fine for that. I don't know that I would use him like where I said you could use Bassett as a cheaper, not cheap, but cheaper SP1. I don't know that that applies to Keller. I think he's more like, all right, I went to Grant Holmes at 82 and Keller at 77, like that kind of a combo. I think that's where he's more effective as like a higher priced SP2 to pair like mid. I do like Pepio, as I said. There's a lot of upside there. Another very talented young pitcher. Don't love the matchup, but on the right day, we can catch that Astros lineup, 86.74. Also just workable pricing. So that's another pitcher in that range that I like quite a bit. You can see, again, everybody's projecting very similarly through there today. I don't like Jeffrey Springs here as much. I think those projections may be a little bit artificial there. 65 is very, very cheap. But that's a low strikeout Blue Jays lineup that I don't love targeting, especially, again, coming in at a 5+ total. Feels like a why would we spot. Gonsolin, probably not enough upside for depth against a very good Yankees lineup. Lighter, shaky, even though he's very cheap. We'll talk it through when we get to that page. Giolito, again, that's a weird one. 6,300 is incredibly cheap, especially when we just saw him deal over 7 innings. That is a gettable enough Braves lineup that has some strikeouts in it. When I say gettable, I mean for Ks and fantasy scoring. I think everybody watching knows that I think a lot of that Braves lineup, especially with Acuna back in it. That's definitely a consideration back and forth with him, as cheap as he is on DraftKings, though. There is a little bit of upside there. Irvin, pretty hard no against Arizona. Freeland, hard no against the Mets. Cal Quantrill, definitely not against the Giants. Joker's over here saying hi. That's why I'm like, stretch back this way. Kyle Harrison's nowhere near the talent of who? Zebby? I mean, as far as like their prospect pedigree coming up, I'm not talking about what their results at the major league level are so far. Where did Harrison top out? If we just want to talk traditional rankings as the easiest way to do that. Not Giants prospects. Now, where's the old list? Hold on. Going into 2023, Harrison was number 18 on the top prospect rankings, the top 100. Not that this is means anything, but he was 18th between one guy named James Wood, 17th, and a guy named Jackson Merrill, 19th. Taj Bradley was 20th. It's actually a great list. Gunnar in the top spot, Corbin Carroll, Francisco Alvarez. Jordan Walker hasn't really worked out yet. Anthony Volpe kind of shaky. Andrew Painter we haven't gotten yet. Grayson Rodriguez unfortunately hurt. Jackson Churio 8th. Marcelo Mayer, we'll see. Ellie was 10th on that list. Jackson Holiday 12th, still a work in progress. Great list here though. Yeah, Harrison was very highly regarded. I mean, the kid is super talented. So mixed results so far at the major league level, like I said. But I don't think it's fair to say that he's not every bit the talented Zebby is. It's dicey, Metro Bum. It is cheap on FanDuel. It's just, I don't think we have any kind of shot at the quality start there. Where the hell is he? There he is. 68 is uniquely cheap on FanDuel for a guy who probably does have a good shot to give you that 25, maybe the upside to 30 if we can get a win bonus out of him. But I think that's where we stop, and it's a pretty competitive day up at the top of the board, so you really need to drill those bats. I think it's worth at least clicking together, like I said, to see what you can build with it. But if it's just, you get that and then you're just getting to the most highly priced bats from, a couple of different teams and common builds, I don't know how worthwhile it's going to be given the likely, 25-point deficit that you're going to have even for that great price. So you really need to cover it with like a big 3-run home run from one of the players that you roster there. He is playable and it's worth considering. And again, it's a spectacular matchup for the kid, but only went 4 when things were going well in that last start. So a little bit shaky as far as the depth goes. Let's get into this one though. Already running out of time before lock, as is our habit. I'm going to try and get through them a little bit quickly. Not that I'm going to shortchange what we normally do. But we do have a lot of games to cover. So the Athletics lineup is confirmed here. Going up against Bassett. Again, Bassett is totally effective. 3.38 ERA, a 3.22 xFIP, a 1.32 whip despite just a 4.9% walk rate, 23.7% strikeout rate. A little bit unlucky on some BABIP there, but he's been allowing chances and not really gotten burnt by it. You can see that Stuff Plus is a little bit below average as far as what the actual arsenal looks like. We've seen him in peak form like this before. We've also seen him a little bit more gettable. Last year in a full season, 4.16 ERA, a 4.28 xFIP, just an 8.7% swinging strike rate, way more walks. Strikeout rate, similar. You can get to him for power, but he's not bad in that department. Mid-3s, mid-2s to mid-3s type home run rates each of the last few seasons. Mid-board type premium contact numbers, but there are barrels here. There is launch here. So we can get to Chris Bassett on the right day with some of this A's power. You can see a little bit of that lingering with some guys around the 7s with Brent Rooker at a 9. But against a lot of other pitchers who give up more home runs, these guys do push up that board to above the magic numbers. So take that into account when you're considering the A's. I think Bassett's playable for 86, 9,000. But again, those are among the higher prices from guys on that tier. And it is a dangerous A's team on the other side. Ignore the strikeout average there. This is obviously skewed by 4 guys at the bottom of the lineup with essentially no plate appearances. CJ Alexander, Logan Davis, and Drew Evans, and Denzel Clark now rounding things out. What you can do is get to the A's really, really cheap if you use any of those bats. When we were talking with Gunn yesterday, we talked about the upside of going to some of these under-owned, under-acknowledged quad A type guys that have had a lot of success coming up through the minor leagues, like the Evanses of the world. So you can get to some offsets here for popularity. You can get to some offsets for price, more importantly, and get to some of their key bats who are also all fairly cheap. There's nobody on this team that's all that expensive. Jacob Wilson, despite slashing 348, 391, 505, is only 4,700 at shortstop. What is he doing that, say, like Corey Seager's doing? Or what is he not doing? Maybe a little bit less power, sure. But he makes up for it and then some in someone who's doing in average and on base and correlated scoring. It's a tremendous option at this price against the Chris Bassett's of the world. Again, not to take Bassett down too far. I honestly think probably more of Chris Bassett than I do of Jose Barrios, if that puts it in any kind of perspective. Lawrence Butler is very playable given how hard he hits the ball. Hasn't seen great results. 249, 307, 441, just a 309 xWOBA. The 192 ISO is hovering around a quality mark. Still creating runs. 112 by WRC plus. And excellent premium contact, down from last year, but still very strong independent of anything. Striking out a little bit more, similar walk rate. I still like the option, and now you're just getting a discount. Rooker's Rooker, you just mash 12 home runs on the board at 211 ISO and numbers that should go up, as evidenced by a 380 xWOBA. Tyler Soderstrom, 15.5% barrels, 51.6% hard hits. It took him, from April 17th to mid-May to hit his 10th home run after hitting 9 in the run-up. And now it's been a couple weeks since that 10th one, but he's still holding down good overall numbers, still carrying a 361 xWOBA, some cooling around the edges for sure from the ludicrous start. But the kid's good. And he's only 4,000, 3,000 across sites. He's very, very playable. Shea Langoliers, a lot of power upside, 9.9% barrels, 45.7% hard hits. He's hit 9 homers. That's what Shea Langoliers does. He's unlikely to give you a lot more than that, but he does have strikeouts down, walks up pretty appreciably so far this year. We'll see how that holds. And then again, some cheap options here. So if you went, let's just do that. Just a straight 5-man where we forgo Lawrence Butler. And you can skip any one of those guys. But we get shortstop and first base filled with catcher filled. I'm spending $38.20 a guy. Not bad. Can we get that to 38 even if we go like that? That's 38 on the nose if you leave out Jacob Wilson and you just take the outfield options. Oh, no, wait. I left Rooker out. I wouldn't want to leave Rooker out. Never mind. Taking Wilson out makes it even cheaper. 37.20. Obviously, that's still, essentially 38. But that's an interesting enough stack, and you can do that with any one of these guys down here. On the Blue Jays side, drawing a 517 implied total against Jeffrey Springs, who's striking out just under 19%, walking just over 9%. Those numbers don't go together very well. 3.97 ERA, but a 4.75 xFIP. Decent enough swinging strike rate. Doesn't throw enough overall strikes. Hasn't been terrible for power. It's more about limiting hard hits and exit velo for him so far. The mistakes he's made have gotten out of the stadium. 3.60% home run rate is high. It's not alarmingly high. It's not 4+, which is what we look for, but pretty close. 8.9% barrels and an extreme 19.6 degree average launch. So we're getting fly ball upside here. We do have a couple key home run hitters like Vladdy in the heart of the lineup here. But again, no Santander. He went to the IL today. You do have Dalton Varsho, but it's lefty-lefty. Ideal for him, and he's just shown an odd outburst of power that's not real. He does have some pop in that bat, undeniably, but it's not 16.9% barrels. It's more like the 6.2, the 7.3 with mid-30s type hard hit rates that we've seen over the last couple of seasons. A lot of strikeouts, mid-board type walk guy. It's not a great spot for him. This is a very short version of this lineup. Yesterday's hero, Ernie Clement, for 24-26. Can Ernie come out and do it again? He's carrying a 2.1% barrel rate, a 24.1% hard hit rate. This is why we don't get excited about the Ernie Clements of the world typically. Fits in at second base on a team with a very high total. He hit his second home run of the season yesterday. He's carrying a .088 ISO and a 293 xWOBA, but that tells us that his 256, 301, 344 slash line is probably overperforming what his actual quality is. Fits in at multiple positions on both sides. In the middle infield, you want him at second base rather than short or third for those prices. He's playable, as evidenced yesterday. 4.23 in the home run model today. I'm still on the downside of that play. Addison Barger is my preference if you're going down lineup there. For a few $100 more, you get much more true premium contact. So far this year, 12% barrels, 56.6% hard hits. Neither of those numbers is realistic either, but I expect him to come down but stay higher level than Ernie Clement, which he already is pretty dramatically. 2 home runs on the board so far for him, slashing 266, 328, 422. But a 361 xWOBA is a great indicator. He's created runs 11% better than average, 5.70 in the home run model. That's a priority bat down lineup if you're going to this team. And with an absence of Santander in the heart of the lineup now, he's even more high priority. But lefty-lefty, what are his lefty-lefty numbers? This is me not going as deep as usual. Why do I even say these things? He's made 17 plate appearances against lefties so far this season, slashing 250, 294, 375, 90 WRC plus. Tiny sample, obviously. Including last year's numbers, he's made 54 plate appearances against lefties and has slipped to 176, 222, 275 with a .098 ISO, a 221 WOBA, 40 WRC plus. So despite putting good bat on ball, maybe not a great option today. And that's the problem once you get in this Blue Jays lineup. Once you get past here, everything down here is difficult to recommend. Yes, they come through from time to time if this team goes off and meets expectations like they did yesterday. And they put up 11 runs yesterday. I think I asked Gunn, is this a 4 or 5 Blue Jays day? Or is this a day where they might be able to give us 8 or 9 runs? And they exceeded that. There's no promises they're going back to that level today. This number only means 4 to 6 runs. It doesn't promise anything. It's very thin down here when we're talking about DFS. You can see that in the projections. It's problematic using their aggregate fantasy scores and ranking them properly against the Vegas totals like that. I like this team, once again, less than that Vegas total would suggest because of the options down lineup like Miles Straw, like Nathan Lukes. Lukes is at least interesting. 116 plate appearances, 4 home runs, 263, 366, 411. It's another guy, lefty-lefty. He's made 8 plate appearances against same-handed pitching this year. He has gone over. Drew a walk and got hit by a pitch. The only 2 times he's been on base in those 8 plate appearances. Obviously an unfair sample size. Let's extend it out, include 2023 and 2024. Come on. Maybe not. Fangraphs wants to keep this information for themselves. There we go. Including the last 2 seasons, he has made 27 total plate appearances against same-handed pitching. He has 2 hits, a single and a double. He struck out 8 times, walked 4 times, got hit by that 1 pitch, and is slashing 100, 280, 150 with a .050 ISO and a 43 WRC plus. And this is one of the more interesting bats down lineup. It's problematic after, Alejandro Kirk. Top end of the lineup is great. Bo Bichette, 41, 3,000. Nice discount, slashing 277, 324, 426. Creating runs at a 14% better than average pace. Vladdy making his usual excellent premium contact, just resulting in 8 home runs, a 154 ISO so far. Focus on the 407 xFIP and know that everything will be fine. George Springer, 6 home runs, 7 steals, a resurgent season, getting on base like crazy, creating runs 35% better than average to match Vladdy at the top of the board for this team. You do have positive run creators, in 7 of the 9 spots. It's just thin as far as the monster fantasy upside days. To round things out, Kirk is an affordable catcher bat who puts good wood on the ball. 40+% hard hits last year, exceeding that dramatically so far this year. Still just 32, 26, 297, 341, 380 slash line. Very playable. I continue to see this team as very mid. I will give them credit, though. Blue Jays bats. Blue Jays bats. Bassett, I'll go along for the ride. A's bats, and then really no Jeffrey Springs. Feels pretty thin, especially on FanDuel at 84. If you're going to throw darts, do it on DraftKings at 65 as an SP2, but pretty low end against a low strikeout Blue Jays team. Again, this team, 17.8% strikeouts this year for this lineup, 15.2 last year. Not a great spot for your spring shares. Jose Soriano, Luis Ortiz. So we're getting one of my hopefully good plays out of the way. We have both of these lineups. Get those in there real quick. That is not the direction I wanted to go. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as we get this all in place. Good news is this accelerates the pace at which I can update the site after the show is over. Jose Soriano, 7,800, 8,100. Striking out just 17.3%. Like I said at the beginning of the show, strikeouts are kind of the rough spot here. He's pitched to a 3.73 ERA with a nearly identical 3.74 xFIP. Inducing a 10.5% swinging strike rate. He does have a good fastball, but that's the limits of what his punch-out ability has been. He's walking too many at 11%. He's got an ugly 1.53 whip. The saving grace when things are going right is keeping the ball down, and that's where I get a little away from the upside of the Guardians today, because look at that negative 2.9 degree average launch. 1.1% home runs. Yeah, it's a 45.9% hard hit, 90.5 miles an hour of exit velo. Even the 8.2% barrel is not great. But those are numbers that remind me of the upside of Framber Valdez for keeping the ball in the yard. I am not in any way saying that Jose Soriano is a right-handed Framber Valdez. But those numbers in particular, the contact and most especially the average launch, kind of profile that way. Like a bad version of Logan Webb. Again, not saying he's nearly Logan Webb. He's not. But I do think he's got the right profile to keep this team in the yard and maybe suppress that run total. And maybe instead of a day where the 4.59 says, oh, there's upside for offense for the Guardians today, maybe it's a day where they do come in for, 3.5 to 5 runs. So I don't love their bats. I'm interested maybe in dabbling around the edges with like some Jose Ramirez, some Kyle Manzardo. But again, if I'm going to Manzardo, it's mostly for the home run upside. Even at 9.34 in the model, because it's not fully giving Jose Soriano a total credit here, I question the upside there. He's actually out to a bigger total today than Jose Ramirez. A lot of barrels, a lot of hard hits out of Manzardo this year. 10 home runs on the board, 235 ISO. Just a pedestrian average 322 XWOB, but 212, 297, 447. That's what I mean when I say we're pretty much home run hunting with that hitter. If we go there, it's not a great target for that. Soriano last year, negative 0.9 degrees over launch, over 113 innings in 20 starts, just a 171% home run rate. Year before, allowed more barrels. A lot more launch, but still just 6.8 degrees. That's a big swing from negative 2.9, but it's still a very appreciably low launch angle. That resulted in a nearly double the home run rate. Again, a lot of hard hits and some barrel sneaking through there. That was when he was working in relief, and he was finding way more strikeouts on way more swinging strikes. That's more of a max effort type spot. He dipped as a starter. But I do think there's in play, 5, 6, upside for 7 clean innings. I think he's on the board for shares. You do have more strikeouts in this Guardians lineup this year, so there's something to chase there. Just 4 2/3 last time out against Miami in a disappointing outing. 1 strikeout, 3 walks, 3 earned runs that came on 7 hits. Again, has not given up a home run since April 22nd. That's a string of 6 starts. He's given up, 3 earned runs, none, 3, none, 3, 3. So if we're following the pattern, there should be 2 0 earned runs in a row, and then 3 earned run games in a row. That's how baseball works, right? I think he's playable. He's cheap enough at 78.81. He's in no way a priority, and he's got a limited ceiling by comparison to some other guys on the slate. Luis Ortiz at 6,800. Last time out, 5 innings of 3-run ball on 4 hits, 3 strikeouts, and 5 walks. The start before that, like I highlighted at the beginning of the show, against Cincinnati at Cincy, 2 earned runs, 7 Ks, 2 walks, 9 strikeout game against the Phillies that I mentioned. Going back to April 12th, a 10 strikeout game against the low strikeout Royals. He is a talented guy. It doesn't measure out great by Stuff Plus because it's not the full arsenal. But if you dig in, there are a couple pitches that spike Stuff Plus. He's also given up a ton of premium contact on a fly ball trajectory with a 12.3 degree barrel rate allowed. Trust me, there are warts here. 25.3% strikeouts, a terrific 12.7% swinging strike rate, 4.73 ERA, but you can see a very tidy 3.82 xFIP underneath the covers, walking way too many at 12%. This is an Angels team that will push you some strikeouts. It's an Angels team that outside of Nolan Chanuel doesn't really draw that many walks. Mike Trout back in the lineup today, though, so a lot of danger in that Angels lineup, obviously, and a ton of power. So what the Angels do well collides poorly with for him with what Ortiz does poorly on his bad days. It's the barrels, it's the power, the hard hits. So this is a back and forth situation. I think there's a lot of upside to be exploited in that price on DraftKings at 6. I think there's a lot of upside on FanDuel at 83 as your standalone pitcher, given the strikeouts. There's also a gigantic basement that you can fall into. Could be a negative day. Could be who went negative yesterday? It was the A's pitcher, right? He was like negative 16 on FanDuel scoring. Could be that kind of a day. So do not take this as me saying, I guarantee you this is my lock of the day kind of a play. This is a kid with some talent, with some true strikeout stuff against a good strikeout target at a way too low price or a very good, generous discounted price. Angels bats, it's a back and forth. If I'm making 150 lineups and I'm taking any reasonably large share of Ortiz, it's probably maybe not 1-for-1, but it's close to that. As far as for every time I put Luis Ortiz into a lineup, I want a different lineup with a hedge stack of Angels because there is tons of back and forth here. Jorge Soler, 10.43 in the home run model. Mike Trout back in the lineup. Knock on wood that it's all year. 11.77 in the home run model. 7.68 on O'Hoppe. 8.70 for Joe Adell down lineup. Zach Neto hiding at the top of the lineup at 8.30 on the home run model with 9 in his pocket over 156 plate appearances that have been totally tremendous. Everybody in the lineup benefits from the presence of Mike Trout. This should be a big rising tide effect. He's only slashing 179, 264, 462 before he went out, but he was mashing baseballs. He had 9 home runs, a 16.7% barrel, and the fact that it says Trout on the back of his jersey. 5,000, not expensive enough. 3,200, bargain. That is an absolute priority. As much as I love Luis Ortiz, getting Mike Trout at those cheap prices would be a priority in basically any other lineup. Neto at 55.39. Massively more expensive than Mike Trout. Again, 9 homers, 8 steals, creating runs 38% better than average, and an ideal pairing with Trout. No way, shape, or form is he a bad option at shortstop. Tremendous player. Nolan Chanuel, mix and match quality at first base, decent run creator, good ability to get to first, and now we've got more guys who can deliver that run or that RBI for him. Taylor Ward, 41.35, dramatically different pricing across sites. FanDuel's got it basically right. Ignore the 218, 265. 334 xWOB is nice. A 275 ISO, 15 home runs and 230 plate appearances. Monster premium contact numbers. He doesn't walk enough to be a 3 true outcomes kind of a guy. He's just power or strikeout, basically. But there's a lot of upside at that $4,100 price tag, especially when you're getting Trout at just 5. Soler for just 34. I know it's been ugly. 225, 297, 390. 7 home runs, though, is at least not dead. It's 210 plate appearances. It's not on his usual pace, but he's at least hit a few. Barreling the ball at nearly 11%. It's approaching last year's numbers. It's been difficult to deal with, but out of everybody in this lineup, the guy who should benefit the most from having Mike Trout hit back and hitting directly behind him is Jorge Soler. I love the upside for a return to form and for those two to mash together in the heart of this lineup. Same thing with Taylor Ward. And Logan O'Hoppe, who's got a 19.3% barrel, 51.4% hard hits. Like I said, everything that these guys do here, outside of Mr. Chanuel there, and then these bottom 2 spots, that is 6 hitters in this lineup that mash and will collide very effectively with these power numbers that Luis Ortiz allows on the wrong day for him. That's the back and forth of it. Kingery mix and match, Luis Rengifo mix and match, and hasn't even given us that quality. Kingery is very cheap. In the minors this year, 110 plate appearances, mostly at AAA, was slashing 384, 436, 606 with a 222 ISO, 2 home runs, stolen base, created runs 62% better than average. Last year, AAA with the Phillies, his last season in that organization after being one of their top prospects for a while. 25 homers, 25 steals. 13 of those and 13 of the homers, 24 of the steals came at AAA. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. That was his 2023 season, 13 homers, 24 steals. So I had a nice return to form at age 30 in AAA in 2024 last year. Just never really clicked at the major league level. He did have a nice 2019 campaign. 500 plate appearances in the show with the Phillies as a 25-year-old. 19 home runs, 15 steals, 258, 315, 474. Had a 216 ISO. Right at league average for run creation, but way too many strikeouts, not enough walks, and then never really made it back. So getting a shot here at age 31. The min price, he's playable. Yet another one of these quad A type guys that's landed on one of these teams. It's just not the best way necessarily to fill shortstop. It's all baked into the price. If you do it, it's fine. But I think I'd rather, if I played him, I'd rather have him in the outfield like he is available on DraftKings. I think the Guardians very playable against Quan, but we're probably scratching out hits and sequencing. The good news is this team's very much built for that. It's a lot of what they do still. So there's upside here still. But it's probably, again, a day where it's like 3.5 to 5.5 runs, something like that, which is what the 4.59 total tells us. But Steven Kwan, if we're just looking for a hit tool, excellent option for that. 311, 371, 425, creating runs dramatically above average at 32%. Ana Martinez at 31.28 is a mix and match quality, 3 home runs, 4 steals. He's got a respectable enough 5.81 in the home run model today. That feels a little bit generous to him and to his 2.6% barrel rate, his 33.3% hard hit, especially against a guy who does, again, allow the occasional barrel, a lot of hard hits, a lot of exit velo, but that launch angle kills you. I don't love the Ana Martinez option, but he's playable. Jose Ramirez is just a star. Play him at any price, and honestly, he's a little bit cheap at 57.36, slashing 318, 371, 527, 209 ISO at 360 X Wobo. What's not to like about that? Your Gun's here. What's going on, Gun? Gun, what do you think of Luis L. Ortiz today? Curious. Hit the like button for Mr. Gundacker, our guest from yesterday. All his dynamite analysis. Gun nailed that Ozzy Albies home run. Braves found upside a little bit. We talked about that. It seems too cheap. Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. It's so low faith as far as like the downside, but he's super cheap for the strikeout stuff in this spot against this team. It's just one of those collisions where like, couple mistakes could completely change the nature of the day. Even if he goes deep into the game, finds 6-7 strikeouts, if he makes those 2 mistakes for big batted ball events, couple big home runs, yikes. I laughed at that too, Larry. Yep. As soon as I saw that, I was like, that one's for Larry. Larry called out Vladdy being a little bit lower. Look, everybody tattooed that kid yesterday. That was not pretty. But yep. On the wrong side of that Toronto lineup. But like I just went through, I see the same downside today. It's not like that suddenly makes them better. They might go off for a big score again today. But that is a bad lineup overall. That is a tough lineup DFS-wise from like 5 down. The Guardians lineup is deeper. There are players I like down toward the bottom. I've highlighted Nolan Jones a bunch of times already. 2 home runs, 3 steals, slashing just 194, 281, 287. My kind of player. Why am I always talking about these awful players who make good contact, but not enough of it? I do like Jones. I'm being serious about that. 2 years ago, 2020 season in just 424 plate appearances. A lot of that was in Coors Field, sure, but 297, 389, 542, put monster bat on ball and does make great contact. In this terrible season so far, over 147, he's got a 10% barrel, a 50% hard hit. A lot of strikeouts, but there's also a lot of walks there, and that strikeout rate technically is down from last year, down from 2 years ago. Walks are down a little bit, but I'll take that trade-off. There's a good player in there. I know there is. He's 2,300, 2,400. It's just not a great spot for the home run upside, for the hard hit upside. Bo Naylor is another guy who just gives you barrels in the occasional home run. He's hit 7 cheap catcher home runs, though, 3,000 where you got to play the position. Not off the board. There's no reliability there. He's a bad overall hitter at 188, 279, 406, just a 304 xWOBA, but the power is very, very real. 219, 7 home runs, 219 ISO, 7 homers. Gilbert Arias, 9.8% barrels, nearly a 40% hard hit, improved over last year, reminiscent of a couple years ago in a medium sample. 241, 306, 368, 4 homers. This is kind of who he is. 194 plate appearances. That's a pretty fair sample. 299 xWOBA. Pretty low expectations outside of the occasional high-quality batted ball event, but not all that trustworthy, not all that much in play outside of a cheap guy who fills multiple spots. At 3,300 on DraftKings, shortstop only, that's really rough. They're not doing you any favors with that. 36 for Daniel Schneemann at second base, playable because of the position, because of the 13.8% barrel rate, over 135 opportunities, 7 home runs. He's been putting good bat on ball, 357 xWOBA, 220 ISO. It's difficult to argue with the results so far from Schneemann. Last year, in more plate appearances, 221 opportunities, 218, 303, 368. That's why the best I can say about Schneemann is it's hard to argue with the results this year. I think the truth is probably somewhere in between across these plate appearances. So not a great hitter, but he's cheap, and he fills second base. Carlos Santana, 35-29, having an okay year. This is around expectations. He's getting on base a ton with a 363 on base. Okay average, putting decent balls in play. 7.7% barrels and 39.9% hard hits is almost an exact match for where he's been the last couple of seasons. He's a very trustworthy couple of points to put into a lineup on most days. Doesn't really strike out. 17.5% strikeouts, 13.7% walks, in line with the last few years and the expectations. What he doesn't give you is tremendous visible upside, but it's always there. Mid-board type home run power. Manzardo, again, just we're looking for home runs. Jose Ramirez is a superstar. Very playable Guardians. Kind of, it thins out, but they get cheap to make that up to you. Yeah. As Gunn points out, Mad Max saying that Albies was number 1 in Gunn's home run model. He wasn't the number 1, but like you said, he was the weirdest name in the top 10. Makes him a great call. That's why I always try and point out, like, in the home run picks column, like, don't just think that I'm just telling you who the highest number on the page is. I'm always trying to give you an interesting pick, a lower owned pick. Sometimes I'll just go with the chalk of the day. We didn't get James Wood yesterday, but we got him good enough score out of him. I think he doubled, drove in a run, and scored a run, stole a base. I'll take it. I want to do like a side-by-side on those guys. Because I have a thing where I can keep track of the home run hit and miss in the home run pick of the day. I want to put another column side-by-side with, all right, how many home runs did that guy's team hit that day? Because it was still a good spot, because that comes through a lot. And then what did that guy score that day? Because maybe he doubled twice and stole a bag and scored a few runs and still gave you a great fantasy score. So I think that's an important part of that equation rather than just the raw, did he hit a home run or not? Makes it a little bit deeper. Anywho, this goes, tough call. Guardians, bats. Discount Luis Ortiz, screw it. Then Angels bats right next to him. Those two things are attached at the hip on opposite sides of the coin. And then and only then some Jose Soriano. He's playable, but it's not a great price when you've got cheaper options on the board. Not a great target. And I need to pick up the pace. Speaking of meeting expectations. Ooh, that's a new name. This will be a fun one. Double silent H's. Hitting second for your Miami Marlins, Heriberto Hernandez. I like that name. I know nothing about this player. He's available on FanDuel. Deadman on FanDuel. Not available in the original DraftKings salary sheet. I will check when I update the site later on. If he gets added to DraftKings. Heriberto is right-handed. 23 homers in 428 plate appearances from Double A and Triple A last year, basically even split. More of the power came at Double A, 14 there in 245 opportunities, 9 in 183 at Triple A, but a good season. Slash line came down pretty dramatically at Triple A after he made the jump, but maintained the power, or a good chunk of it. He went from a 292 ISO in more plate appearances to a 220. Struck out more, but walked more. Went from 268, 359, 560 in 245 Double A to 187, 322, 407. Interesting enough, though. Yet another young bat with some, maybe he's 25 and change. Maybe some talent. I would love to know why Alec Bettinger was highlighted that day, or Sam Hentges. Could not tell you. So the Giants bats, I think, are a definite talking point here against Cal Quantrill. I don't think we need to go too deep into Quantrill. 52-71, even cheap. Even against the Giants lineup with some Ks in it, he's pitching to a 16.4 strikeout rate, 8.8% swinging, a garbage rating by Stuff Plus, super gettable for power, premium contact, launch angle, barrels, home runs, whatever you want. 4.53 xFIP, 6.09 ERA. He's outperformed or he's underperformed his xFIP, but that is still not where you want to be. Similar numbers all throughout last year, 148 in the third innings. This is just not a good righty. Definitely targetable with some of these Giants bats, with some of the high-quality lefties. That said, there's only 2 lefties in the lineup, Yaz and Young-Hoo Lee. Both of those guys, premium options today. Yaz, 5 home runs, 5 stolen bases, carrying a 333 xWOBA under a kind of mid 203 plate appearances, 251, 355, 400. There's a lot to like in the on base, the run creation. There's more power there. There's more ability to drive the ball. Probably seen a little bit of bad luck through the batted ball events, because 8.3% barrels, 42.4% hard hits. Should be a little bit more results in there. We know that Yaz is a better power bat against Cal Quantrill. I like the upside. Elliot Ramos, 13.5% barrels, 46% hard hits, 10 home runs, good slash line, 347 xWOBA to support the upside for more. If I'm going Giants, I am definitely including $4,200 Elliot Ramos on DraftKings. At $3,500 on FanDuel, that gets a little stickier. I really like the kid. I think the talent is totally real. I think the power is true, but he's not a superstar. He's a nice bat. He's not a great bat. That is a expensive price for a guy who grades out as something, above just another outfielder, but below the star tier, and pretty significantly below the star tier. Again, I don't want to take too much away from him, because he's had, 232 excellent plate appearances this year, 518 pretty good plate appearances last year. But look where he totaled out. I mean, the 200 ISO is very, very good. Again, with 22 home runs. That's good, but a lot of guys hit 20 home runs. 269, 322, 469. It's a good average. Pedestrian in the on-base plus. That's better than pedestrian. 792 OPS. It's pretty good. But again, not over the top star. So I have a little bit of an issue with the FanDuel price. If I'm putting it together with Yaz, I can kind of average that down in my head, though, because that 29 is probably cheap for Yaz. Now I get them both for 32. Feels a little bit more reasonable to do it that way. You can include Young-Hoo Lee for the same price and get everybody at 3,200 and fill your outfield on FanDuel with Giants if you wanted to. Not a bad option. Lee carrying a 276, 326, 444 slash line, 115 WRC plus. Tremendous option from the left side for a very fair price. Wilmer Flores has 10 home runs on the board. Monster outburst of power for a guy where we know that the power ebbs and flows a little bit, that it's not necessarily entirely real. But we've seen Wilmer go on stretches of home run hitting before. We've seen against high contact pitchers like this, Wilmer can easily succeed, not miscast in any way at either first base or third base for those mid-board prices. I don't mind him. I prefer Matt Chapman. If you had to make a decision, if you only had third base open, save $200 and put Matt Chapman in your lineup. That is the true home run hitter between the two. I know you got a lower end slash line at 224, 342, better on base, 408 slug, 9 home runs compared to Wilmer's 10. Just a 184 ISO is low for Chapman, but it's higher than Wilmer's. 365 xWOBA is getting into the conversation that I'm looking to have. 10.8% barrels is significantly higher than Wilmer. 50.4% hard hits is basically more than double Wilmer's numbers so far this year. And that is consistent for who these guys actually are. So the true power bat there for cheaper is Matt Chapman. Same price on FanDuel, but you can, different positioning, first base, third base. Obviously, you can go to both on DraftKings as well. That was if you had to decide between conversation. Willy Adames, up to 11% barrels, 44.5% hard hits. He's got 5 home runs, which is disappointing so far. 208, 288, 333. I would say that the performance dramatically underwhelms the contact that he's been making. 298 xWOBA kind of flies in the face of that statement, though. Really problematic as far as the 288 on base. But he's drawn 9.8% walks. It's got to be, I think I looked this up the other day, but I don't remember the number. He's got to be getting so unlucky. But he's really not. I mean, 268 BABIP. I think this is what I uncovered the other day. 268 BABIP is low, but it's not 208, 288, 333 resulting low. It's a weird confluence of numbers here with Adames because this should justify on its own, again, especially against this kind of strikeout, that kind of walk. That should be justifying higher numbers, not only in the results, but in the underlying. It's kind of a funky collision there. I still think, given what we know about this player over time against this pitcher, super playable. And if you're stacking Giants, I don't know that you want to skip a very discounted Willy Adames. Patty Bailey, Casey Schmidt, Tyler Fitz down lineup. Any one of those bats can be in play. I think the best talent there is Tyler Fitz, 3,500, 2,900, fill your middle infield, fill second base. He's slashing 261, 320, 383, 2 homers, 6 steals, just 127 plate appearances. Was on the IL for a little bit of a stretch. Was excellent last year. He's been a good bat at this level. So I think he's the guy to go to there. I don't love Casey Schmidt at first. Multi-position eligible for 22 on FanDuel is a different story, but just kind of a free square spot. And then Patty Bailey, not giving you much so far this year. Last season, hit 8 home runs in 448. Didn't give you a lot last year either. He's just kind of a spot filler at catcher for 22. Probably only a DraftKings option, really. Carl Harrison, again, short outing. Last time out, just 4 innings. That was the problem. He was working in relief after they called him back up in the beginning of May. May 6th, he pitched an inning in relief. He was very effective in relief so far this year. 2 earned runs in 4 appearances. Multi-inning relief appearances. Had a handful of strikeouts through those games. Faced 17 Nationals the other day. He gave up 5 hits, 2 earned runs, gave up a homer. Struck out 4 and walked 0, though. For the season, in 9 1/3 innings, we're at a 28.9% strikeout, 3.86 ERA with a nice little tidy 3.05 xFIP underneath. Giving up too much premium contact and power so far in the teeny tiny sample. That amounts to 2 home runs total. So again, you can kind of ignore that number. But it was bumpy last year. 24 starts, 124 1/3, 4.56 ERA, but he outperformed that with a 4.23 xFIP, or he underperformed his xFIP, I should say. 9.5% swinging is not where we need it, but 22.2% strikeouts against the 7.9% walk for a rookie in his first true exposure at the major league level. Those aren't bad numbers. 3.38% home run rate, despite a lot of barrels. The barrels, the hard hits, and the exit velo there are all over the mark. He kept the ball in the yard pretty effectively for those numbers. A lot of happenstance there, though. That could easily have been 4+. You can see what Stuff Plus thinks of the Arsenal. Substandard so far this year, substandard last year, but he sees results. Undeniably saw results all the way up. So far, again, small sample numbers, 15.7% swinging strikes, 28.9% strikeout rate at the major league level. That probably comes down working as a starter compared to working in relief, but the kid is very talented. 7,100 is a cheap price. 6,800 is a cheap price. A few darts against one of the lower end lineups in baseball, I think is justifiable here. It's just we're probably capped at 5 innings. I don't think we see a 6th. I don't think we have the shot at the quality start. And like I said before, when somebody asked, given the likely 25-point offset to the top end pitchers, FanDuel scoring wise, 12.5 point DraftKings wise, I just question that it's the right decision on a deep pitching slate like this to go to that discount, even though he's talented, even though he's facing the Marlins. Playable, but probably not ideal. If it was a small slate like yesterday and we had this option, I would have been a lot more excited about this. Going to the Marlins bats, Agustin Ramirez for 43-33, slashing 262, 318, 525, 7 home runs, all the power in the world, 262 ISO, a 358 xWOBA. He has been tremendous. Pairing him against a couple of good righties against Kyle Harrison here with Heriberto Hernandez on FanDuel for 33 and the dead min there. That's a good way to start out. 26.50 average to start. Pretty good FanDuel price. Problem is you don't collide with a lot right there. Eric Wagaman's been all right. He is putting good wood on the ball. 7.8% barrels, 46 and change hard hits. Not really striking out, but doesn't draw a ton of walks. Just results in a 255, 305, 388, 91 WRC plus, but does have a 350 xWOB underneath based on some of that contact, I would suspect. 4 home runs on the board. Not unplayable, but not ideal. He is just cheap, though. Multi-position eligible. Between the options, I probably want him in the outfield more often than not. So I'd be looking at like 2,700 a piece, filling 2 outfield and a util. It's all right. It's not an ideal FanDuel build, though. Otto Lopez, mix and match quality player, 4 home runs, 5 steals. He's all right, but not overly appealing. 8.9% barrels is the highlight there. Low strikeout, medium walk rate, so he gets on a little bit. 356 xWOBA stands out among some pretty low-end numbers otherwise. Dane Myers, mix and match quality, but putting another guy putting decent wood on the ball over 88 plate appearances. He's slashing 337, 375, 482. He's hit 3 home runs, shown a little speed with 7 stolen bases, exploiting the on-base percentage. 396 xWOBA, 138 WRC plus. If you're going to him, you're probably to the Marlins, you're probably considering some Dane Myers shares, but now we're kind of overloading our outfield shares if we're going to this team. Less so on DK because you don't currently, at least, have the Hernandez option. Connor Norby is an interesting righty bat. That's somebody I would definitely keep in mind if I'm dropping down this lineup. Fill second base with Norby shares for 29 on FanDuel. Third base on DraftKings is not totally ideal. He has hit 3 home runs, slashing 276, 319, 425, a 105 WRC plus, but a low xWOBA. The contact is all right. Too many strikeouts, not nearly enough walks is kind of your problem there. Throwing him up against a growing lefty, though, I could see the success in line for Connor Norby, just given the premium contact that might be available to him here. So he'd be a bat that I keep in mind. Kyle Stowers, lefty down here. He's hit 10 home runs. He's having a tremendous start to his year. There's another one I know I looked up the other day, but just doesn't stay in the head. This is why I got to get Gunn's splits into the spreadsheet somehow. Or got to get splits into the spreadsheet like Gunn has, I should say. Not get his splits. Against fellow lefties this year, Stowers holding his own. 48 plate appearances, not a huge sample, but 375, 404, 479. Just a 104 ISO. All the power has come against righties. 0 of his 10 home runs have come against same-handed pitching, but he's at least gotten on base. He's at least hit for average. He's got three doubles and a triple, so there's a little bit of pop in his game. For the career, because we have seen some Kyle Stowers, 102 plate appearances. Again, not an overly large sample, essentially doubling what we had. Does have a home run, 6 doubles, pair of triples, 283, 343, 424. So definitely some reverse splits there in, again, a very small sample. That probably changes if you give him a larger chunk of plate appearances. But he's been better slash line wise against same-handed. Lower strikeout, significantly lower. 34-1 against righties. 19-6 against same-handed. But a 163 ISO drops to 141. He was a better run creator in those low-end plate appearances. But we're talking about 452 plate appearances against righties and 102 against lefties. So we have to give that more room to actually mathematically even out. All that is to say, $4,400, $3,400 Kyle Stowers, you're probably not getting the hitter that you're paying for at those prices. You're not getting a guy who's inept or who will ruin your Marlin stack. He's probably still a very high priority bat in that stack. I would just say it's a different expectation. Rather than hunting for the home run that's going to drive some of these guys in, it's probably ball and play, maybe a double, something like that, if he succeeds today. Javier Sanoa and Nick Fortes mix and match guys down the bottom of the lineup. This very, very much goes Giants bats, Marlins bats, Kyle Harrison as a cheap dart throw. Harrison very, very loosely clinging to the bottom of the board as far as utility and upside and ceiling today. Rockies and the Mets. The Rockies are a mess. Gundacker and I officially campaigning to be made co-GMs of the Rockies. Kyle Freeland, pitcher that we can not completely skip, but what you get out of Freeland on the right day is maybe some shot at depth. Lefty going up against some hard-hitting righties in this Mets lineup. I don't like this spot at all. I'm not trying to sell it or justify it. He's pitching to a 5.86 ERA, but you do have a noteworthy 3.63 xFIP under that. 17.2% strikeouts against just 5.1% walks. It's not an appealing strikeout rate, but it is an okay, manageable. You're a bad starter, but you're a back of the rotation guy kind of a number, kind of a ratio. 11% swinging strike. Kind of effective. Suggests that on the right day, you can find a few fantasy points along the way with Kyle Freeland. I think we've all seen that happen. This is not in any way an endorsement of him, but I think you do at least need to mention those things along the way. 5 1/3 very effective innings against the Phillies, for example, 2 starts ago. Faced 24 hitters, allowed 7 hits, but only 1 earned run. Struck out 6, walked 2. So 1.69 ERA, but a 3.82 xFIP for that game. Against the Yankees, he melted down 4 2/3, 8 runs, only 4 of them earned, 9 hits, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks. So that's very illustrative of the very true downside and the very realistic mid-board type quality that you can maybe find from time to time. If you could guarantee me that day, or honestly, if you could just guarantee me 6 innings here, because he usually at least finds like a 3-run, maybe 4-run day with like 4 to 5 strikeouts if he can get 6 innings. If you could guarantee me just 6 innings, I think I would roll the dice maybe a couple times because he's only 5,000. It is very, very cheap. There is almost zero ceiling on this play. You would just be looking to book 12 DraftKings points for 5,000. That's the nature of that play, and that's the ceiling on that play. This is not a good option, but I do think that it's worth at least bringing those things into the discussion. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 outings this year out of 11. So more than half of his starts, he's pitched into the 6th inning. 1, 2 of those he pitched into the 7th inning. Strikeout high is 7. That came in his season debut at Tampa Bay. He was actually very good that day. 2 hits, no runs, 7 Ks against 0 walks. This is his best start of the year by a mile. He's given up earned runs at least 1 in every other performance. But again, there's that much quality there. And it's just about the free price. Do not play him on FanDuel. Just don't. 7,000. It's not. He's too expensive. Even 7,000. It's just not a good spot. It's just about that free square. Mets bats. If you play 1 share of Freeland, you should have 5 Met stacks in other lineups against that at least. Mets are tremendous today. 3 of their key hitters above the magic number for home run upside: Mark Vientos, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso. Monster premium contact numbers, monster home run upside. Francisco Lindor just below the magic number at 9, and you could easily have had him above 10 home runs on the season to go with 10 steals. He's on his way to 30-30 over time. 341 on base against the 340 XWOB, 121 WRC plus. Nothing to dislike about Francisco Lindor. On DraftKings, I would say you're getting him a couple $100 cheap, 5,400. It's not a bad price. It's a high price, but it's not a bad price for the talent. 39 on FanDuel is a little bit higher relative. 32 for Vientos, 28 is a discount. I continue to believe in the talent. I know that the barrels are essentially cut in half so far this year. Hard hits are only down slightly for that. Imagine if he had found a few more barrels along the way. That would be a dramatic hard hit increase. 235, 305, 385, just a 302 XWOB, but just a 151 ISO. It's getting difficult to justify, but it's all about the last year numbers. 27 home runs and 450 plate appearances, a 251 ISO was tremendous for premium contact. There is a good power bat there, and you're just getting him cheap against Kyle Freeland, of all pitchers. After just talking about how he's kind of, sort of, maybe questionably playable. Juan Soto, don't worry about the 224 on the front end. 352 on base, a 420 xWOBA, 420, man. 14.1% barrels and 55% hard hits, 17% strikeouts, 17% walks. That's a good ratio. Pete Alonso carrying 19% barrels for 5,300, 4,000 against a very gettable lefty. 11.18 leads the team in the home run model. He's got 11 on the season. It's a little bit off the pace of like the true league leaders, but he's slashing 290, 395, 41. What a year from Pete Alonso. Fire up the Alonso shares. The Mets stack, especially among the top end, looks great. That four-man is under 5,000 apiece considering how cheap Vientos is. You're getting them for 4,800 apiece, 4,775 for those four monster bats. And if you bolt Brandon Nimmo onto that, you're getting them for 45.20 apiece. If you bolt Starling Marte or a playable Tyrone Taylor, a cheap catcher in Francisco Alvarez, a wraparound option at second base like Luis Angel. Those are interesting bats. Every single one of them going down the lineup. I know we've got some underperforming down there, of course. Marte at just 225, 340, 326. At least he's getting on base. Needs to exploit the on base for some stolen base upside, some better run creation numbers. Everybody down here is below average for run creation, as is Vientos for the season. But we know there's better quality than that. Some of these guys are getting on base, a 341 on base out of Francisco Alvarez over 85 plate appearances while making excellent contact when he happens to connect. It's only resulted in one home run, a very disappointing .068 ISO, just a 290 xWOBA is a little bit alarming to look at on the surface or under the surface. But we know what this kid's true power looks like. When he's clicking, when his timing is there, we know what this bat is. So I'll take a little bit of a ride with the hard hits and barrels that he's already put up in a handful of batted ball events and what the upside looks like against, again, a lefty like Kyle Freeland. Luis Angel's gotten on at a 313 clip, stolen 11 bases. Underwhelming in basically every other aspect of hitting, but again, you get upside from facing such a bad pitcher. He's a discounted option at second base. Fits right in to wrap him back around to the superstars up at the top of the lineup. Taylor, 5.3% barrels, 36.8% hard hits, just resulting in one home run, a 109 ISO. We're just looking at him for the oddball impact batted ball event from the right side against a weak lefty. 5.47 in the home run model for 27-24. Playable, but just another outfielder ultimately. And then Nimmo is just super cheap for 10.4% barrels, 52.6% hard hits. He's hit 8 home runs, substandard on base, dramatically different from the hitter that this player used to be. But I'll take the power from the left side. I'll take the upgraded premium contact for 3,500 when I can get everybody up here that cheap now. It's going to be a popular Mets stack for sure. David Peterson's going to be popular too. 9,000, 9,900. He's very fairly priced for his upside. 2.79 ERA against a 3.46 xFIP. The sparkling ERA is betrayed a little bit by that xFIP, but that's still a good number. 21.9% Ks on 10.3% swinging. 8.9% walks is definitely high. So is that 128 whip, but we get the benefit of facing the Colorado Rockies at a sub 3 implied total. I don't think we need to overthink anything here. Peterson is just very much in play. A couple years ago, he was a better strikeout pitcher. 12.3% swinging, 26% Ks. Dipped a little bit last year, has reclaimed some of it so far. I like his ability to continue to approach, maybe not as high end as those numbers, but continue to make gains as the season goes on in swinging strikes, in strikeout rate. I think he goes up from these numbers, not down, just especially given how talented the Mets pitching organization is with the back end stuff. So really love the upside here for him. No issues with playing him, and really not a situation where you need to go to any kind of Rockies in response. There's very little back and forth with this team right now. They do apparently have Thairo Estrada in the lineup now. He's hitting cleanup today for the Deadman price on both sites. If you're looking for a totally cheap one-off at second base, it's not completely insane to think that Thairo Estrada could succeed. He's a better player than a min-price guy, but there's a reason he found his way to the Rockies now. Last year, pretty bad season, over 381 plate appearances, 9 homers, pretty bad slash line. Year before, 14 homers, 23 steals, 271, 315, 416. He was an effective player, but not a great one that year. 145 ISO, a 101 WRC plus. Similar numbers the year before with a 107 WRC plus. But again, considering he fills second base for essentially free, you could go there. He would be a priority bat considering where he is in the lineup on top of that if you happen to be playing Rockies for bizarre contrarian reasons. I don't think it's a good spot to play Rockies today. 7.31 for 100 Goodman in the home run model. He's 4,000 still on DraftKings, 28 on FanDuel with outfield eligibility. It's probably where you want to stick him. I don't think I would use util or catcher first base on him. Outfield seems like where he belongs. There are a lot of hard hits. He is their most effective bat currently. Jordan Beck is competing for that title as well. 8 home runs, 7 steals, 262, 322, 506. A 114 WRC plus is the team lead, and one of two guys, the other being Goodman, at the league average for WRC plus. Everybody else has been underwhelming. 2 homers, 2 steals in 122 plate appearances is off pace for Ezequiel Tovar. He's cut his strikeout rate, but it's cost him in some of the batted ball event departments. So kind of iffy as far as the option there, but at least he's cut the strikeouts down. That is encouraging because he can reclaim some of the other stuff. Brenton Doyle, disappointing year so far, but is barreling 14.7% of his batted ball events, 44.2% hard hit rate. No results for that great contact so far, but the 331 xWOBA goes in line with those numbers to say that there should be a surge at some point. So he remains very playable in this lineup, but no way a priority, no way a reason to go to the Rockies. Ryan McMahon is a mix and match talent at this point in his career. A lot of barrels, a lot of hard hit, a respectable 348 xWOBA that's encouraging for a surge in performance. But these are numbers at which we're pretty familiar finding Ryan McMahon as well. Typically, the average will be a little bit higher. Kyle Farmer, a cheap mix and match play that nobody ever uses, but pretty mediocre results over 152 so far this year. You're just looking for the oddball piece of premium contact. And again, just not a good day to play Rockies. Talia has been bad this season. 6 homers, 198, 271, 357, a 59 WRC plus. Tyler Freeman at the bottom of the lineup is a no. So very difficult on the Rockies end. This very much goes David Peterson, considering he's like the top projected guy on the slate. David Peterson followed immediately by Mets bats and really nothing from the Colorado side. If you wanted to throw a couple cheap darts, if you're building 150 on DraftKings and you told me you had 5 Kyle Freeland shares, I wouldn't call you nuts. Sounds like Christian Walker's in the lineup. This is Red Sox and Braves. Braves drawing a big total against Lucas Giolito. That is, as I said in the run-up, major back and forth spot for me. Giolito, once upon a time, not only one of the top pitching prospects in baseball, this is going back a ways, but has also seen good results here and there throughout his major league career. Not a bad pitcher, not by any stretch. Been bad so far this year in 5 starts, but his last one was outstanding. Maybe it's a return to form. Last year, didn't pitch. Year before, 25.7% strikeouts, 4.88 ERA against a 4.45 xFIP, 12.3% swinging, but way too many walks, too many guys on base, and way too much power allowed that year. Year before, limited the power, limited the barrels, still pitched to a 4.90 ERA, but a 3.66 xFIP is much more respectable. 25.4% swinging on 12.2% swing, 25.4 strikeouts on 12.2 swinging. There is strikeout stuff here. There is talent here still. Last time out, 7 innings against Baltimore. Baltimore has been very up and down this year, but an outstanding start. No earned runs, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. That's Lucas Giolito when things are going right. 2 games back, faced Kansas City at KC, 6 2/3, one earned run on 2 hits, 5 strikeouts and a walk. It's a pretty good start, especially against a high-quality Kansas City team. It's just 2 games around the edges. In between those 2, he faced Atlanta. 6 earned runs on 3 home runs, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. That's this team, I'll note. That was at Fenway. And then faced Texas, 3 2/3, 10 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 strikeouts, and a walk. Was just average in the first start, 3 earned runs, struck out 7, but allowed 2 home runs. So there's some funkiness in the numbers a little bit so far this year with Giolito. I would not be shocked to see him go out there and kind of avenge that brutal start that he had against this team in his home game and turn the lights off on them a little bit. That said, 5.35 implied total should not be ignored, and the Braves have and are showing the upside to a big score today. This is not one of those situations where I think that this team is, it's around 5, so that means 3.5 to 6 runs, something like that. This is mid 5s with upside to the 8-10 run threshold. We're seeing 4 guys well above the magic number for power. It's all the usual suspects. We know that this lineup plays deep on the right day, but we've got a lot of underperformers down there like Michael Harris. Alex Verdugo is not much of a bat. Luke Williams is mix and match quality so far, but the dead min price helps. Second base also helps. Ozzie Albies back up lineup. We got Ronnie Acuna in the top spot. Drake Baldwin's the guy that I was thinking of. I was like, somebody's missing from this that was standing out earlier. It was Drake Baldwin who was up at the top of the lineup in the projected. He's not in the confirmed today. But we get Murph. You get Sean Murphy as the, oh no, I have to take Sean Murphy and all his power, 132 plate appearances, 9 home runs. If I had to gun to my head this one, I think I would say the Braves bats come through. But I think it's probably closer than that Vegas line suggests. And at 6,300, even at 79 on FanDuel, if you had to, there's playability there. And 150, I think I would have a handful of shares. I don't think I'd get aggressive about it. But at this price, I think that's a very interesting SP2 option, despite that high total, despite the bad performance in a 5.27 ERA, an over-the-line 4.35 home run rate on bad contact numbers. 3.88 ERA, you can see the upside. Just 7.7% swinging is concerning, but he reclaimed some of his strikeout rate in 2 of the last 3 games. Some back and forth for sure there. Grant Holmes at 82-87, pitching to a 22.8% strikeout rate, but too many walks at 10+%. The 116 whip reflects a little bit of good fortune on balls in play. 12% barrels, 42.4% hard hits, 90+ miles an hour of exit velo. Has given up more than 4% home runs despite keeping balls to a 6.6 degree average launch. That means a lot of the mistakes travel out of the ballpark. And if he's putting too many guys on base via the walk, he's going to get burnt by that. 3.68 ERA, but a 3.96 xFIP that reflects some of the the opportunities that didn't get cashed in on there. But he does have decent swinging strike stuff, 11.2% swinging, not throwing enough overall strikes at a 26.2 CSW, but a very playable option against a good Red Sox team that has some flaws, I think is fair, especially with Bregman out of the lineup now. It's a targetable enough Red Sox squad, 22.3% strikeout rate, some high 20s opportunities through here. There's a few deadly good lefties to worry about there. So I don't think Grant Holmes is safe, but I think he's very playable. What I don't love is the pricing. 82 even feels a little high. It feels more like a 78 kind of day for Grant Holmes. 87 on FanDuel is uncomfortably high, but he does project up, among the top 10 starters. Red Sox bats would be in play, and for every Grant Holmes share, I would, for maybe every 3 Grant Holmes shares, I would take 1 Red Sox stack on the other side, something like that. And it would be focused on those lefties. Jarren Duran for 5,037, maybe overpriced for this season's performance so far, but for everything that we know about this hitter from last year, for some of the underlying numbers, the hard hit rate being up, the strikeouts being in line with last year, while walks are down a little bit, there's some explanation around the edges. I'm fine paying those prices against a average starter. Everything about Grant Holmes, even the good in here, this is all league average. There's nothing special there. So, very playable Duran. Rafi Devers still just 51 on DraftKings. I know that's gotten back up into, higher price territory, but that still doesn't reflect the current year of performance. 287, 409, 523 at 236 ISO, a dozen home runs, 16.5% barrels, 57.6% hard hits. What does a guy have to do to get back to the 55 range? 42 on FanDuel is correct. Willier, 6.92 in the home run model. He's got 13 on the season to lead this lineup. 250 ISO at 386 xWOBA. Monster barrel rate, pretty good hard hit rate. Love Willier against any righty. Carlos Narvaez cleaning up for this team now. It's been a cursed spot for this team so far this season, but he's got some success, over 157 very good plate appearances, kind of a surprise. This team's gotten a lot out of some lower end catcher bats the last couple of seasons. 5 homers, 289, 357, 465, very playable in the cleanup roles, especially if you're going up there. Helps lower the pricing, even in a direct 4-man on FanDuel, 3,500 apiece for those 3 lefties. On DraftKings, you stretch out even more because you get the additional buy with probably, honestly, just go right to Marcelo Mayer and just top 5 it. That's a great price on that kid. 42.40 a piece. And I get Duran, Devers, Abreu, a surging Carlos Narvaez, and one of their top prospects. Yeah, Marcelo Mayer was on that list that I was reading before from 2023. He's a top 10 prospect. Kid should be good. So far, over 20 plate appearances, giving us a 331 xWOB under the covers, 263, 300, 368. Those are meaningless numbers. 20% of those plate appearances, he struck out, but that's not bad to start things off. He's drawn a couple walks, 46.7% hard hit rate within the tiny, tiny sample. So he's put good wood on the ball in a couple of batted ball events, but not great because there's no barrels yet. I think it's all about the price and sticking him at second base. That makes things work pretty effectively with a Red Sox team that is in a decent enough spot. 4.26 implied total, but they're not that offset against Grant Holmes. Trevor Story scuffling 218, 263, 318, but some very true batted ball events. 9.7% barrels, 45.5% hard hits. It's just the results that have been off for, maybe a little bit underlying with the low walks against the high strikeout. 289 xWOBA is nothing to write home about, but I'm encouraged by the batted ball events that at some point we get at least spikes of quality. So he's going to remain playable, and he's very, very cheap. I think he fills shortstop okay. Campbell, we've seen the dip. Now we need to see the recovery. Very good start to his season and has slid off pretty dramatically, but they're sticking with, and I love that. They're letting the kid figure it out at the major league level. I think they should. 225, 315, 354, 12 points below average for run creation. That's where we like to see all our Red Sox. But the kid, for fantasy purposes, very, very playable from the bottom. You will get, at some point, a return to form from him. He's too talented to be figured out, Ceddanne Rafaela putting up tons of barrels and hard hits. It's resulted in just 3 home runs, 7 steals, pretty mediocre slash line. He was great for counting stats last year, but that was it. Maybe that's all we get out of him is the occasional excellent batted ball event. For our purposes, at cheap pricing, I think you can ride with that. I like him at second base better than in the outfield or at short for 28 on FanDuel. 3,000 on DraftKings, more of just another outfielder and not a great spot in the lineup, but at least you get to bring him back up to these guys. And you can do the same thing purchasing power-wise as what Mayer gives you in that spot. Just take Rafael, plug him into the outfield. Now you've filled all 3 outfield, third base, and catcher, and you're paying $42.20 a piece for those top-end Red Sox with one of their table setters second, third, and fourth times through the lineup. It's not a bad way to go. If we're building with Braves to target Lucas Giolito, obviously you want some of this power. On FanDuel, if you just grab the top 4 or those 4, the top 4 power bats, you're only paying $33.25 a piece for those guys. Acuna, Ozuna, Olsen, and Riley against this form of Lucas Giolito. I will take my shots. Everybody here has monster barrel rates, 51, 52+% hard hit rates. Everybody in that stretch is just too cheap for who we know those hitters are. Same thing's true on DraftKings. Matty Olsen at 5,000 is probably a little bit cheap. Results haven't been great, but he does have a dozen home runs on the board at 223 ISO, 385 xWOBA, mega contact. That's a couple $100 cheap at worst. And then 46 for Riley is cheap. 42 for Ozuna is way too cheap. A lot of barrels, a lot of hard hits, 21.8% strikeouts, but a 20.5% walk rate. Over 229 plate appearances. That's bananas. 428 on base, 406 xWOBA. At worst, he's stellar for on-base, run creation, correlated scoring. And we know there's very, very real power there. Ronald Acuna, in his 25 plate appearances, has a pair of home runs, a 364 ISO, a 435 xWOBA, and a 30.8% barrel rate with 84.6% hard hits. And those numbers are not coming down all season. Maybe they come down a little bit. Dude's a superstar. Just play him. He's priced like it, but everything else is cheap. 41.25 for Ozzy Albies. 6 home runs, 5 steals. Maybe turning things around, coming back toward respectability. I always like him in the second spot in the lineup up with all the stars. On DraftKings, I would just 5-man that and just include him in the obvious approach there. Brings my DraftKings price under 5,000, 4,800 a man, 4,820. So 49 technically. Not a bad way to go. If you wanted to swap out, let's say you made the big sacrifice and took Olsen out. I would just go right there, fill catcher, take Sean Murphy, bring my price down to 46.40 a guy. Not a bad way to go. He's the best. Murph is the best bat down here. Tons of premium contact, major right-handed power, 9 home runs and 132 plate appearances at 272 ISO. He's been mashing since he came back. Michael Harris has been really disappointing. At second base and third base, Williams, kind of like a mid-type power and speed bat. 2023, he was 26, 414 plate appearances. Actually, some of those came with the... Oh, no, that is AAA. 414 plate appearances, 12 homers, 28 steals across the Braves and Dodgers organizations back in 23. Last year in 241 AAA plate appearances, 9 homers, 18 steals. This year, pretty empty, 83 plate appearances in AAA, and has not given us much in 6 chances in the show. He's the min price for a reason, bolt-on part at best. Braves bats, Red Sox bats, Grant Holmes, and maybe some Lucas Giolito DraftKings starts. $5:00. We're all right. We're not doing too bad. We're making it through. Dimitri asks, why are the Braves free on FanDuel every time they're on the slate? Yeah, they're just cheap, man. Acuna's price pushes things back up a little bit, but they are, each of Riley, Ozuna, and Olsen, in my opinion, are a little bit too cheap on both sides. Couple $100 too cheap on both. Noble RD Entertainment says, yo, what's going on, Noble? Power says, I tell you one thing, I'm lost on this slate. I'm playing plus 30. I normally play 5 or less with a big money one. Hey, that's it. Look, different ways to play. Definitely, you need to focus a little bit more on what does your spread look like? What do your combinations look like across 30 lineups? You don't want to get overexposed to any one individual spot. Whereas for me anyway, in 5 lineups, I might take a bigger focus and just be like, all right, I'm pushing shares with like Ryan Nelson the other day. I think I built, 6 lineups that day, 7 lineups, minor share of lineups. And he was in all of them because I just love that spot. And he was super cheap. But then I mixed up the bats because it was, I don't want to be him and the same bats in every single lineup. So you mix up the bats in that kind of a scenario. But across larger shares, larger portfolio, you want to focus a little bit into that spread. And then obviously, what your true portfolio leverage looks like against the full slate. Dimitri says, I kind of like the cards. Hopefully you talk good about them. I will talk fairly about them. How about that? I do think it's a gettable spot. Going up against Jack Leiter, who's pitched to a 17.4% strikeout rate. If you had a 40-something strikeout rate, we'd be talking. 17.4 against a 12.2% walk rate in 41 innings. That's where the 40 came from. 4.17 ERA against a 5.06 xFIP. It's been rough for Leiter so far for the most part at the major league level, but the kid does have very, very real talent. Top pick in the draft a few years ago. Best start of the year was either the first or second one, or the mid-May start on the 13th, but that came against Colorado. Struck out 5, walked 3 in that one, 1 earned run over 6. That was his second deepest start against Houston. The start after that, 2 starts ago, he went 7 innings, gave up 3 earned, struck out 4, walked 2, gave up a home run. Not a great start, but getting stretched out like that for a 7-inning game for a young pitcher is definitely an encouraging development. Went 5 in the start after that, faced 26 hitters, though, threw a lot of pitches. 3 strikeouts, 5 walks, got bumpy there. 2 earned runs, got through it, but was obviously not a great start. And that was a day where we were kind of looking for him coming off that 7-inning performance because that was against the White Sox in Chicago. So it seemed like a good spot, and we didn't quite get there. I don't think we go there at 69, at 78. We've got a few bargain bin options in the books already, so we're probably not looking at that. Cards bats against that, 479 implied total is definitely respectable. So yes, we can talk at least nicely about the cards, realistically about the cards being an option today. 7.28 in the home run model for Lars Nootbaar up at the top of the lineup. I'm sure we have this confirmed by now. We do. And he is in that spot, which is great. We also have the Texas lineup. Bunch of people there. Hit the like and subscribe. I'll drop these lineups in while I plug. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Check out rotoscouts.com. That's where all the projections live. You can get baseball, what lingers of hockey and basketball. No basketball, no hockey tonight. Hockey comes back for the Cup Finals on Wednesday, and basketball is off till tomorrow with apparently I can't plug and drop this in because I'm forgetting what team it was. Basketball returns tomorrow with Pacers and Knicks going back to Indy for Game 6. Let's go Knicks. But we're covering every single showdown slate for the finals and the conference finals, and then into next year and football and all of that. Point is, you get access to all of it. Anything that hits that website is yours for the same subscription. Under $1 a day across a weekly, monthly, or quarterly plans. Check that out. Give some love to Gundacker and his site. Follow @Gundacker. Check out DFS grind, MLB grind, Damn it, Gun. I forgot the name of the site. If you're still in there, drop the name of the site in there. Meant to give you a better plug than that, but check out Gundacker. If you just search Gundacker on YouTube, you'll find him. And give love to acemind.io for some optimization and some sim needs. Promo code rotoscouts, all in caps, still 20% off your first month at AceMind. All right, so cards, bats. Like I was saying, Lars Nootbaar, top priority for me. 10.6%, barrels 52.4 on the hard hits, 252, 355, 416 slash line, a very good 362 xwOBA that's suggestive of a little bit of available growth for the hitter, 18.3% strikeouts, 13+% walks, in line with the excellent strikeout to walk rates over the last couple of years. Really like Lars Nootbaar overall. It's just, for me, he's kind of the high point. We get him in the first spot here. 48 is appropriate on DraftKings, but it is definitely up there now. 31 on FanDuel really hasn't budged, so it's a better FanDuel price than a DraftKings price. I like the option. 7.28 in the home run model. Definitely one of the better picks. I think I went with Herrera in the home run pick model column. You can see he has gotten dramatically overpriced on DraftKings. He's been very good. Don't get me wrong. And he had a lot of pedigree coming up as a next big thing catcher for this organization that has had some great catchers. But that doesn't mean he should be immediately at 5,300 after 96 very good plate appearances. 358, 438, 630, 5 home runs, sure. 272 ISO, sure. A 413 xWOBA was fantastic. Not striking out, drawing tons of walks. There's everything to like about this player. This is more appropriate price-wise. 31 is, he was probably started at 25. They've been gradually pushing him up the board. DraftKings way overreacted when DraftKings typically is way slow to get to these things. I don't get it. I don't like it. It makes them less playable because you don't really want to skip that bat. But now I have Brendan Donovan at 48, Nootbaar at 48, and Ivan Herrera at 53. Just against some of the other averages I've shown so far, do we want to be paying $5,000 a man for that trio? Against a kid who, he's underperforming, but I mean, if nothing else, 10 points above average stuff across the full arsenal. Again, Jack Leiter is good. This is not a good matchup for him. Again, even at these prices, 16.5% strikeout rate for this team so far. That's bolstered by Yoel Pozo's 2% down here. The real number is more like 18.8, but that's still very low. Not a good day for him, but not a great day for overpriced DraftKings bats on the cards. I'm having trouble saying nice things about the cards. Sorry. They're better on FanDuel, I think, where they're just kind of mid-pricing for everybody. Donovan's been great this year. 335, 395, 481. Just a 146 ISO. 391 xWOBA is great. But what does the true power upside look like? What does the DFS ceiling look like most days? Very low strikeout, plenty of balls in play, well-struck balls in play. This is him at peak form over 229 opportunities. We've seen shorter stretches of this level of performance from Donovan. We've seen longer stretches of average player, substandard player, replacement level player performance. I'm really interested in seeing where this goes with this hitter, but I don't want to pay 48 for him. If I'm doing it, it's at second base, but that's not ideal. Wilson Contreras for 41 helps with a lot of those price concerns. 6 home runs despite 11% barrels, 43.4% hard hits. The home run total, the 136 ISO, none of that jibes with that contact or his career history. 360 xWOBA is a number I fully believe in. At some point, we're coming back with Contreras in a big, big way. But even at the start of the season before this slump, I was saying I don't love him at first base as compared to a lot of other first basemen. He becomes a lot more standard first baseman, mid-board type first baseman than he was a standout catcher. So some back and forth, but that's offset by that cheap price. If you just 5-man that, it helps, but it's still a not great 46.80 for an underwhelming collection of hitters when I can pay the same prices and get a collection of stars from some of those other teams. Nolan Arenado at, let me take that again. Nolan Arenado at 43 at 28 on FanDuel has been bad. 239, 311, 391, a 302 xWOBA. This is what I was expecting from him this season. I've been talking about it since last year. That swing is just broken. It's a big loopy swing that comes in with one of the slowest fast swing rates in baseball. It's entirely within the realm of reality and explanation that Nolan Arenado is now this hitter. That DraftKings price is too high. I hate to say it, but it is. He should be 38. He should be an Alec Burleson. 28 on FanDuel, probably the same thing. Burleson's outperformed him over 153. He's at least slashing 287, 333, 420. He's hit 4 home runs. 315 xWOBA is realistic, though. 133 ISO, realistic. He's created runs at least via some on base and some quality batted ball events with a low strikeout, low walk. But he's nobody's favorite down lineup, not a priority. Joel Pozo, Victor Scott. Scott's at least getting on at a 337 clip. He's stolen 16 bases. He's now probably the fastest man in the major leagues now that the Rays made the mistake of sending Chandler Simpson down. But you're just getting correlated scoring and maybe some stolen base bonus there. I get that they're probably better than my opinion of them. But I think the tiebreaker there, and they're not numbers-wise really, but I think the tiebreaker is these exorbitant prices on DraftKings. That's just too expensive for the quality that you get with this team. Against a kid that, again, he's going to be good. It would very much surprise me if Jack Leiter does not become a at least good major league pitcher. Liberatore at 87.92. Sparkling 21.5% strikeout to 3.4% walk if we're looking at strikeout to walk. 2.73 ERA with a 3.35 xFIP. 59 and a third in 10 starts. He's been great. 101 whip, 11% swinging strikes, nearly a 30% CSW. A little bit of blip with the hard hit and exit velo that probably will result in, over time, more home runs. A little bit more barrel. Comes on a medium fly ball trajectory. Stuff plus right around the average, slightly below. But he's been very, very effective this year. The Rangers are more healthy now with Corey Seager back in the lineup, but they've still got everybody in this lineup kind of just underperformed. It'll be interesting to see where this team goes over the next 400 and change collective plate appearances. Sam Haggerty at the top of the lineup is definitely not a strong option. 50 plate appearances, 213, 260, 362. The 373 xWOB is encouraging. Comes on 14% strikeouts, 6% walks, so a lot of balls in play with a 40% hard hit. There are reasons to include him when he's there for a very cheap price, but I'm not a big fan of the option. I'm much more into the Wyatt Langford, Corey Seager part of this lineup, the very cheap Josh Young part of this lineup. 10 home runs, 10 steals from Langford. We've dipped a little bit in the slash line, but I would expect him to come back. There's a 364 xWOB under the covers. He's barreling 13.8% of his batted ball events, 49.2% hard hits. Corey Seager in a small sample so far has been Corey Seager, 288, 333, 500, 212 ISO, 6 homers, monster premium contact numbers. Josh Young has a 10+% barrel rate, and you only have to pay $3,800 to get him at third base, $3,000 on FanDuel. He's hit 7 home runs, stolen 4 bags in 187 plate appearances. Good slash line, 342 xWOBA, a history from 2 years ago to tell us that there is more to come. He missed basically all of last year. He's just refining his form. He is underpriced, even against a guy who's pitching well like Liberatore. It's a good spot. Jonah Heim, 33-29, has 6 home runs on the board. If you're going to this team, he's fine to play at catcher. He's nobody's priority. He's a mixer when you stack Rangers. He's not really a tremendous option for one-offs today or anything like that. Jake Berger at 36 does have a little bit of like one-off appeal for a cheap price. 14.8% barrels and 49.6% hard hits with the career history is what we focus on there. It's obviously been bad this year. 189 ISO results base. That's down 7 home runs is way off the pace that we would expect. A 310 xWOB. There's nothing encouraging on this side of the page. But if I'm just focusing on this for that price against the lefty, I can argue for it at least, which I just did. Kyle Higashioka, I can always argue for. There's a lot of premium contact for a very cheap price for a catcher that nobody goes to, $2,500. He hit 17 home runs last year. It was a nice little outburst of power after hitting 10 in each of the 2 preceding seasons on similar kind of contact. 10.9%, 11.1% should not be ignored as far as barrel rates go. They're down so far this year, but that's still 8.8% for a very cheap catcher bat. Respectable enough, will result in more home runs. Semien at 3,026 is getting difficult to defend. Between the two, Jose Altuve and Marcus Semien, it's getting a lot easier to defend Altuve with the recent surge. and the fact that he's on my team, where this guy's on Mike Brown's team in our Dynasty League, and I'm enjoying watching Mike linger in like 7th place with Marcus Semien struggling. 173, 260, 224, a .051 ISO. He might be dead and he might not ever rise again. This is problematic at this point. 223 plate appearances plus last year's underperformance. It's gotten bad. I think a few mixer shares at second base is fine if you're building a bunch of Ranger stacks, but it's really not a great day to build a bunch of Ranger stacks. 432 implied total. They're on the board, but they're kind of in the middle. Don't love it. And then Ezekiel Duran at the bottom of the lineup is a very cheap mixer. Dead min price is more interesting than that, honestly. Last year was kind of not great. 285 pretty empty plate appearances, 74 WRC plus, but in 439 chances 2 years ago, mostly from down here. This was when him and Leody Taveras were down there. They saw a lot of success in that part of the lineup. He went 276, 324, 443, created runs 7% better than average, hit 14 home runs, and stole 8 bases that year. That's a quality player for the dead min price. He hasn't been that guy in a minute, but I'll take a shot there. And look at who Marcus Semien, since we're going back that far, look at who Marcus Semien used to be just 2 years ago. 276, 348, 478, 201 ISO, 29 homers and 14 steals, 122 runs and 100 ribbies. Those are monster numbers. The hell happened? At least he scored 100 plus runs. Again, not a stat we care about, something entirely out of his control. But at least he was scoring runs last year. He's just dead now. 13 runs and 223 chances. That's crazy. Where have you gone, Marcus Semien? This very much goes, I'll give it to him. Cards, bats. Matthew Liberatore, but I don't love those prices. Rangers, bats third. Lighter shaky. 69.78. Again, with the depth that we have available today and all the bargain bin options, probably don't need to go lighter there. Tigers and the Royals are in. Whoops. Casey Mize, 8,900, 9,800. What you don't get from Mize is monster strikeout performances, but I think he finds some as time goes on. 21.8% strikeout rate, entirely respectable, particularly when it comes against a 5.3% walk. He's put up a 12.4% swinging and a 30% CSW. That's kind of why I'm a believer in going out and being able to claim some aggressive strikeout rate in go-forward games. He's also just a pitcher that I was on coming out of spring training. I've got him on the Dynasty team as a new player this year. Hit the IL for a couple minutes there, but came right back. Made a 5-inning start in his return. Faced 21 hitters. Struck out 6, walked 1. 2 runs, 1 of them earned on a home run. But a very good outing. Was working deep into games prior to hitting the IL. 7 innings against the Angels in LA, 6 innings at Coors. Was excellent in that Coors. Struck out 8, walked 0, 1 earned run on 3 hits. Tremendous outing. Against the Angels in that game, he went 7, faced 28 Angels. That was his deepest start of the year. 4 earned runs allowed on 2 homers. Struck out 4, walked 2. Had another 7-inning game against this Royals squad back on April 19th. 7 innings of 4-hit ball, allowed 1 earned run on a solo homer, struck out 3 and walked 1, but the strikeouts went up since then. So I do think there's a little bit of upside here. What I don't think is that we're getting a great price for it, especially if we have maybe you get 6, but probably don't get 7 kind of a cap. He's priced like he's got a full outing coming to him, and I think there's probably a slight cap on that 7th inning ability. Depends on how things go, though. The Royals also, just as we always say, not a great target for finding extra strikeouts. So I think we probably end up with like one of those mid-board type starts, and I don't know that I want to pay these prices for it. But it is a pitcher I really like, and it is a pitcher that I think across 150 lineups, a few shares is entirely justifiable. Seth Lugo falls into basically all those same categories. Lower end for strikeouts so far, fewer swinging strikes, fewer strikes in general, but a 3.02 ERA against a 4.02 xFIP, fairly similar. 4.05% home runs is kind of a blip. That stands out. Last year, that was 191. Year before, 315. Year before that, 331. So it's probably more like a threes, high twos to threes, but he's not bad for power usually. Not a bad option as far as keeping guys off base either. 1.09 whip this year on 6.8% walks, 109 whip last year on 5.7% walks. Had a better strikeout number last year. Pitched a ton of innings too. Works deep into games usually. Last time out, 6 innings. He's gone on a stretch of 6 starts in a row where only 2 out of the 6 did he fail to pitch into the 7th inning. He went 6 in both of those. He only completed the 7th one time, and in that start, he also completed the 8th 3-hitter against the Astros, 8 strikeout game, 1 walk. That was on April 25th. But basically 6 innings. You don't want to call it a lock on a DFS show, but very, very high probability of 6 pretty decent innings here. He could spike a little bit of strikeout upside, probably a return to like the 1 in 5, just over 1 in 5 kind of rates that he's been in the past. Because the Tigers, good as this lineup can be, 26.6% Ks this year, 24.9 last year for this confirmed version of the lineup. So there are strikeouts on the table for Lugo at 83, 88. I do lean a little bit Lugo over Mize, even though I think, I'll stop short of saying more. I think equally of the Tigers as I do the Royals in different ways because they're very different lineups. I do think both lineups are in play, even with the quality of the pitchers on the mound. You do have mid-4s totals for both and a lot of very good bats. Kerry Carpenter, 4,000, 3,000. Fantastic price. Again, how do we get to 5,300 for Ivan Herrera on the numbers he's put up in 90-some-odd plate appearances, but we're stuck at 4,000 on Kerry Carpenter, a guy we've seen succeed in the majors in the past, who is currently over 201 plate appearances, sitting with 10 home runs, a 275, 307, 487 line, a 212 ISO, 13.2% barrels and 47.4% hard hits, strikeouts being down at 19.9%, a 361 xWOBA, 124 WRC plus. What does a guy need to do to get fairly priced? Or why do they love some guys and not others? I don't get it. I don't know how this works. It's inexplicable. Glaber at 46.35 has been priced up. Hitting right behind Carpenter most of the year, and he's been here for fewer plate appearances, 188 opportunities, 5 home runs, half the home runs that Carpenter's hit. 285, 388, 430. He's been terrific this season. And as I've highlighted a few times, strikeouts are back down, walks are up. This is what you get when Glaber's going well. These are the keys. If he's doing that, he's having a good year. It fell off a little bit last year, and that's why he's not a Yankee anymore, much to my chagrin. Colt Keith at 29.26 is very cheap for the talent. 4 home runs, mediocre numbers so far this season, but an underlying 359 xWOBA. He's created runs at a 108 clip by WRC+, 9.2% barrels. There are things to like with Colt Keith. 12.7% walks. You get him at second base now on DraftKings, which is dynamite. You do still have the Glaber or Torkelson decision when you go to Colt Keith, but at least you get that flexibility now. The other day he was just first, I want to say. So there was a conflict with him and Torkelson. Riley Green at 4,800 is underpriced by a couple hundred. That's a $5,000 player. If Ivan Herrera is a $5,300 player, Riley Green's a $6,000 player. What are we doing? 274, 330, 500, a 226 ISO, 12 home runs. Creating runs 36% better than average. 17.7% barrels, 48.9% hard hits. Coming off 13-4 and 46-2 last year, 11-3 and 46-6 the year before. Yeah, he strikes out, but he's a monster bat. I don't get how they come up with these prices. FanDuel's got it right at 35. DraftKings, several $100 too cheap. Torkelson, same deal. 13 homers. Yeah, he's slashing 238, 351, 513. Do they care that much about batting averages? Is that what this is? It seems to be. Torque's got a 14.4% barrel. He's hit 13 home runs. He's got a 275 ISO. 351, 513. He's got a, 860 something? 864 OPS. 142 WRC plus. Bonkers. If you see the OPS all the time, but you never knew what it was, it's just on base plus slugging. It's a very simple formula. but it tells you a lot about who the hitter is. Wenzel Perez, Zach McKinstry, Dylan Dingler, Trey Sweeney. You get a lot of mix and match guys down the bottom of the Tigers lineup. That's why they are still kind of the Tigers. You're getting a lot of quality out of Dingler, though. 4 home runs. Cheap catcher bat, always worthwhile on DraftKings for a few shares. McKinstry at 39 at third base is not really great. 272, 365, 420. Had a great start to the year, created some runs for this team. He's effective enough when he's cheap. That price has gone up a little bit, and third base is not really where I want McKinstry. Give him to me at second base. Give him to me even in the outfield for that price, and I'm fine. I don't love filling third base with Zach McKinstry, but he's playable. On the Royals side, as always, Jonathan India, it's just been all about the on base so far, which is in line with expectations at 336. The counting stats have evaporated. He's gotten difficult to really consider outside of just correlated scoring, but we know those abilities are there, or at least they used to be. So maybe they emerge over the next few hundred plate appearances. At 32-26, I think you keep going back there at second base. Good pairing with Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, obviously, and getting the 2 surrounding hitters for as cheap as they are with Bobby Witt, getting Sal Perez for as cheap as he's gotten, and then a fairly priced at worst Michael Garcia, who is probably honestly cheap. Top 5 there, 4,020 to target a good but gettable Casey Mize. Again, I do like Mize quite a bit, but gettable. That's really cheap compared to those Cards prices for the full 5-man. I like these bats better than those Cardinals bats in a total vacuum, taking the pitcher out of the equation. That's cheap for those players. Vinny has been mashing since April 25th. Absolutely mashing. The numbers across the entire season have already come up. We're at 251, 301, 397, 334 xwOBA. We've got a ways to go on the ISO, got a ways to go till it's totally clean, but he's been putting up those numbers that exceed expectations since late April. 8.9% barrels, 44.7% hard hits. He's just cheap. He's fantastic. 2,800 on FanDuel. They haven't caught up either. Bobby Witt's a superstar. You just go there and you pay that price because it's not expensive when you stack him with any of his teammates. Sal at 36. I know he's underperformed. 222, 260, 348. I get it. I get the concern, but there shouldn't be concern. 13% barrels, 47.2% hard hits, a 361 xwOBA. Sal's gonna be fine, or should be fine, or everything about how he struck the baseball suggests that he will be fine. I can't make that promise, but I can tell you for sure that I see Sal in here still. Garcia's been tremendous, 312, 373, 465. He's created runs 36% better than average, and you heard it here first. This is my favorite call of the season so far. Love this player, not expensive enough. Gives you a little bit of power, a little bit of speed. He's on base constantly this year. He doesn't strike out. A lot of good, high-quality balls in play. Love the player. Drew Waters, John Rave, Michael Massey, Kyle Isbell, at best mix and match options with a lot of pretty low-end performances so far. Out of those players, Michael Massey's probably my favorite. We've seen some mid-board type of barrel events out of him. 7.8 2 years ago, 7.1 last year. Low strikeout, low walk. So when that's coming through, you get a lot of decent quality, medium quality contact. But overall, he's a very average player. He's just a way to fill second base cheap. 4 corners game for sure. I have to go Lugo over Mize. For one, Lugo's cheaper against the higher strikeout matchup. And 2, Mize probably limited for that 7th inning. I think he has a fair shot at 6, though. And then conversely, Tigers bats over Royals bats. Both teams a little bit cheap, though. Yeah, Larry nails it. Sal Perez's underlying numbers better than they've been the last few years. There's so much upside. Larry said Terry just had his daily stroke, by which he means that he caught up and is no longer on 1.5 speed. So now it sounds like I'm talking like this. By comparison. Fromber, love it. 9,210.5, fire away. It's Framber Valdez. You don't have to think too hard about it. 69 pretty good innings, 3.39 ERA, a 3.36 xFIP, a decent enough whip, keeping the ball down, 4.4 degree average launch, and we know he can be better than that as far as keeping that ball on the ground and in the yard. We don't care as much about the hard hits, the exit velo with a pitcher like this. Yeah, it's there. 8% barrels is a little higher than I want it. When he makes a mistake, it can still get out of the yard. He's not invulnerable to home runs, but he's one of the better options over time at keeping the ball in the park. And he also has decent strikeout stuff, 10.9% swinging, a 23% strikeout rate, right in line with who he is. He works deep into ball games, typically 69 innings in 11 starts this season. 6 innings last time, 7 the start before, 8 before that, 7 before that. He's got 2 8-inning performances, 3 7-inning performances, and a handful of 6s so far this year. A lot of depth, tremendous option for a quality start. He's got a Rays lineup that we do like to talk about. We do like to go to for a little bit of power. They're never all that expensive. It's a very good organization overall, despite their Chandler Simpson mistake from earlier today that hopefully they'll rectify. But they're gettable, and there are more strikeouts here for Framber. So I love the option for Framber. The guy that's interesting, 74.86 for Pepio. Love the stuff. 106 marked by Stuff Plus. Depending on whose model you're looking at, that goes higher. I think Nestico's got him at like 109. That's his Pro Stuff Plus model, I think he calls it. Pepio is good. It's gotten bumpy in some spots. It's not a great matchup, but these are also not the Astros that they've been over, the last half decade or so. You do have Christian Walker back in the lineup. That's a bump for them for sure, even with his underperformance so far this year. Just getting that power bat back in the lineup and who he truly is, all those barrels and those hard hits, that's a threat for sure. And he's only 38.29. You're throwing him right against Pepio's 9.6% barrels allowed, 42.6 on the hard hits, 90 plus miles an hour of exit velo, and a just under 4% home run rate that could easily, on a 15.4 degree average launch angle, be well above 4. Last year, he was at 315, but had some blips in there for power. He also struck out 26.3% on a 12.9% swinging last year. Those numbers are both down so far this season, but we know that ability is there. In a short sample the year before, had a problem with home runs in, just 42 innings over 3 starts, some hybrid relief work. 7 starts the year before that, similar story. So we very much know that Pepio can give up some premium contact and can get nailed for a home run, but we also know there are more strikeouts hiding here. The issue there becomes this Astro squad, even this version, 19.9% Ks, not the best target for strikeouts. Top end of the lineup is elite at not striking out. They do get on base somewhat effectively, especially when they're going right. This team just kind of waiting on Jordan Alvarez to get back. An entirely right-handed lineup. 7,400 kind of speaking to me. 86 on FanDuel. Like I said, he's in my placeholder right now. But I actually have Luis Ortiz sitting here cheaper and more highly projected and really giving me fits. So it depends on what I can do with that upgrade in $600 of salary to spend at upgrading like shortstop or second base or something. But I think Pepio is easily on the board on both sites and downright appealing at 74 on DraftKings, given what the upside is. That said, would play the Astros at a 4-1-3 total. It's not a 1-for-1 hedge kind of situation, though. It's a here and there. I think he's good enough to realistically suppress them and expectations for them to have a monster day. If you're going to Astros, Pena's having a good start. You heard me and Gunn talk about him a little bit yesterday. I think Gunn may be more a full-on believer, but I'm coming around a little bit. I mean, he has been undeniably good. Over 239, 300, 366, 451, a 344 xWOBA. Never going to be a tremendous power bat, but like a 15, 18 home run season I think is reasonable. Maybe 20 stolen bases to go with. Not a star, but a good player and putting up very good numbers, 14.2% Ks, 6.3% walks. So a lot of medium quality balls in play. Not a bad option to start a lineup. Isaac Paredes, as long as we're in this ballpark, 47 is fine, 34 is fine price-wise. He has 11 home runs, 363 on bases, tremendous and very important for him to maintain his quality. 204 ISO, a 339 xWOBA, 15% strikeouts against 12.5% walks is tremendous and reflective of who he is as a hitter. Needs to draw those on-base opportunities, though, when he's not hitting for power because he has that just unique ability to hit those left field home runs. But in this ballpark, plays up his power for sure. Against this pitcher, he's a good option for a home run, 7.85 in the home run model, not nothing. Jose Altuve, signs of life. We're up to 268, 316, 423. He had another home run yesterday. He's got 9 now on the season. All of a sudden, it doesn't look too bad. Still a 291 xWOBA kind of staring us in the face. Just 5.7% barrels, 30.9% hard hits. We've got a ways to go to get to like expectations even. But at least he's not completely dead. At least he's not Marcus Semien. Walker at 38.29. Again, priority bat if you're going to Astros would be the guy I would choose if I had to one-off a guy from the Astros to target Ryan Pepiot. It's probably either Paredes with all the upside for him being on base and giving me just some run scoring, or maybe the home run shot, or a very cheap Christian Walker for just his true home run upside. 9.79 in the model today. Johnny Diaz, 35.27. What am I going to say? He's underperforming. 346 xWOBA tells me that things are fine. We're going to go back up. We've seen signs of life. The barrels are up. The hard hits are down a little bit, but still respectable. There's still a lot to like despite the underperformance. So we continue to go there. 35 on DraftKings is appropriate. 27 on FanDuel. It's cheap. I would prefer it if Walker was out of the lineup and I could pretend that he was their first baseman. Doubling those guys up is fine, given the quality of both players, but it's not my favorite way to build this team, but it's very much there. The issue then becomes just, since I'm only getting 4 FanDuel bites, now I'm feeling first and util, and then I only get 2 of those 3, the guys they're knocking in. For me, that would be Altuve and Paredes, by the way. I would just kind of straight line that. $3,025 a piece. Not a bad price to pay. Cam Smith at 29.27, giving you some good on base, some good run creation opportunities. Jake Myers has been getting on base and stealing bases and also creating runs. We'll see what Cam Smith becomes. I don't think he's far off the mark for the performance we've seen so far. Seems somewhat realistic. I think Jake Myers is overperforming his talent still. We've got a little bit of track record here with Jake Myers, and it looks very little like what he's done so far this year. We've examined it on other shows. Zach DeZenzo's put a bunch of barrels on the ball, over 104 plate appearances. Seen very little for it. 129 ISO and only 2 home runs. But 17.9% barrels is noteworthy. Comes with 35% strikeouts and 10.6% walks, so it's kind of problematic. But a 339 xWOBA for a guy who's hiding down here at the bottom, if you need just a cheap one-off, it's not great at 3,026. Not great being in the outfield or at first base, but it's usable for our purposes. And then Dubon's a mix and match guy. If you do go to the Rays against Fromber, for me, I want to prioritize Johnny Diaz in there. I would probably still take shots with Aranda, but we're biting into him lefty-lefty. We're biting into his power upside with Fromber on the hill, so that's not great. Junior Caminero would be a priority bat, given his premium contact from the right side. I definitely want to have some of that against Fromber, but again, we're not particularly home run hunting against Fromber Valdez. So it feels like a bad day to be looking at the Rays in any serious way. You can see the impact in their home run number. They're below a 3.5 run implied total. Not a lot to like here with Tampa Bay today. Jake Mangum, the guy that they opted for over Chandler Simpson, he still 8 bags and 73 plate appearances, putting up very good on base and average numbers. But Simpson is the more dynamic of those two players, and Mangum is a 29-year-old quad A type guy. It's not a priority bat, but he's at least hitting high up in the lineup. 4,300 is in dramatic overprice, though. 27 on FanDuel is more realistic. Should probably be even cheaper than that, and he should be in like the low 3s on DraftKings. I don't think you pay that price. I think it's broken. Aranda also at 46. Again, against Fromber, that's challenging at that price. Danny Jansen, 2,800. Curtis Mead. There is talent on Curtis Mead. He's very cheap. He's at 3 home runs and 85 plate appearances. It's difficult to see the talent at the major league level, but a lot of minor league numbers so far, or on his way up. Just is not really connected at the major league level, and doing so against Fromber is less than likely. Christopher Morel, if I'm taking Rays bats, I probably do still prioritize him. A lot of Ks. Again, we're not home run hunting against Fromber, but if I can get the big batted ball event, he's one of the more likely contributors for it, given the premium contact. Taylor Wall is just a mix and match guy. Fromber, Pepiot, Astros, really no Rays bats. Pepiot is in play against the Astros, though. Jesus, 4 games to go, 540. They're off the pace that I wanted for this show. Pirates and Pods lineups are in. You try and talk faster. I was really hoping to get us out by 6. That ain't going to happen. This is a 7 o'clock start, though, right? Not a stupid 6:45. Yeah, 7:07. All right. Mitch Keller against the Padres. At 9,100 on FanDuel, that's a pretty firm no for me. He's a good, not great major league pitcher. 3.66 ERA, 3.83 xFIP, 20.1% strikeouts. He's playable. It's fine, but why do you want to target the Padres with Mitch Keller at that price on this slate? It just doesn't click for me. At 77 on DraftKings, he's more than playable. That's perfectly fine. He's a high price SP2, mid price SP2. It's fine. If you wanted to use him as a low price SP1 in conjunction with like a Luis Ortiz and save in both spots, I think that's doable. It's just the quality, the upside of the Padres lineup, the low strikeout rates that this lineup comes with. It's not a good target. It exploits the downside of Mitch Keller much more often, I think, than we find the upside day with Mitch Keller here. So it's a challenging recommendation. On FanDuel, it's a no. On DraftKings, it's playable at best. Nick Pivetta at 98-10-3 against one of the more targetable teams in baseball, coming in with a 3.21 implied total. Very appealing. 2.72 ERA, but a 3.59 xFIP. Even though it's nearly a run higher, that is still an appealing enough xFIP. 28.3% strikeouts and 11+% swinging strike rate. Tremendous on the whip despite an 8+% walk rate. 2.69% home runs. You do need to point that out. This is a lucky home run number given this, that, and that on that kind of average trajectory. Nick Pivetta will give up more home runs over time. It would not shock me in any way to see O'Neal Cruz take him deep here. 11.53 should be mentioned in the home run model. Tremendous option for premium contact. Look what he's done so far. 25% barrels up 10 points. 62% hard hits up 7 points. Monster. We talked about him on opening day, how big a season he was going to have. 233, 52, 489. There are things to quibble with in there, but 12 home runs, 18 steals, a 259 ISO, a 393 xWOBA. Some more to come. Dude is awesome. 15.2% walks, basically double his walk rate. That could give Nick Pivetta a problem. But Nick Pivetta more than likely finds a K or two against O'Neal Cruz at the same time. I think if it's a 2-run batted ball event that hurts him, it gives him a ding in his, overall what the ceiling could have been type of day. But I think it's less than likely that the Pirates put up the 5-run break the day for Nick Pivetta at price kind of a day. So easy to go to the option, one of the more highly projected pitchers on the slate. If you're taking shots with the Pirates, it's doable enough given the premium contact that I just mentioned, the fly ball trajectory, the home run downside that Pivetta does come with, and the walks that are at least worth mentioning. There are some guys up here who can exploit walk rate. Those are not bad walks over those top 5 hitters. That's a 10.7% average walk rate. So it's doable. They're going to be low owned. They are cheap, but it's not a good option. I don't like attacking good pitchers with bad teams to get my contrarian shares. On such a big slate, so many things are going to be owned in the 1 to 5% range that you just go different directions. But they are here. Henry Davis is in the lineup at 2,200. If you just need a cheap catcher, honestly, if you just wanted a cheap catcher one-off, I wouldn't tell you were crazy for going to a $2,200 share of Henry Davis or two. It's not terrible. He's hit 2 home runs in 62 plate appearances, put 6.5% barrels on the ball while not finding any kind of hard hits. Kind of consistent with numbers in the past, but low strikeout so far this year in the small sample. Was high strikeout, high walk in the 2 previous stops in the show. It's a high-quality kid for a very cheap price against a pitcher who gives up a ton of premium contact. That's what you'd be buying there. Spencer Harwitz is a more realistic option. Despite the 209, 277 on the slash line, he actually does have a very good hit tool. He does have a good eye, good ability to draw walks, put decent, not great bat on ball, but decent barrel rates, mid-30s type hard hits like he's done the last 2 years in medium samples. Brian Reynolds, we're maybe in decline a little bit here, 222, 290, 366. Probably trying to get his way traded out of Pittsburgh at this point. 11.5% barrels and 46.2% hard hits. Again, still appealing against a pitcher who's given up barrels and hard hits, but just not home runs. 8.60 in the home run model to sit second on the team. McCutchen, a lot of barrels and hard hits out of him. No strikeouts, a lot of walks. 361 on base. Excellent table setter with a good ability to exploit the downside again of Nick Pivetta. So priority bat, if I'm going to the Pirates, it's the top 3. Very easy to do. And then probably just the next 2 guys. And if I'm looking at that average price, now I'm paying $3,700 on the nose for O'Neal Cruz. And I get him alongside Andrew McCutchen, Brian Reynolds, Spencer Harwitz, and Henry Davis. It's not a bad way to save money. They probably, Even with the purchasing power in the 5-man, it probably plays better just as a 3-man with those top three. But then you're paying 45 a man. Not that that's unfair for these three hitters. It's downright great for O'Neal Cruz, but it depends on how you want to look at the Pirates and their chances of success against Pivetta here. Down lineup, Adam Frazier, Tommy Pham, IKF, not much to work with there. Out of the three, it's probably Adam Frazier for me. IKF is giving you a decent average, which we don't really care about. He's getting on base a little bit. It's coming via BABIP like usual. 8 stolen bases. He's all right as a mixer. Ke'Bryan Hayes gives you a good bat on ball with medium quality and high frequency, but never ever sees any results for it. It's a shame. Should be a better hitter than basically every season of results says. And it's that again. I think you can play him, but he's not really desirable. It's really about the top 5 here. If you're going to Padres, it's the much more playable of the two stacks. Fernando Tatis is a superstar. He's got a 9.32 in the home run model for a very fair 55.39. 13 home runs, 9 steals on the board going up against Mitch Keller. Top priority Padres bat if you're choosing to attack Keller. Luis Urias continues to be miscast in the 2 spot. 293, 24, 415, 3 homers, 2 steals. Crater runs 8% better than average, but not much of a bat outside of singles and getting to first base. He should be leading off, maybe even hitting 9th. But here he is hitting second between Tatis and Machado. Machado is very interesting, 5,000, 3,400. Price up a little maybe, but not reflective of 12% barrels, 53% hard hits, a 313, 382, 483 slash line, 409 xWOBA. 6 home runs, coming around a little bit on power. Love the upside with Manny Machado on any given slate. If I'm choosing to attack Mitch Keller, it's Tatis, then it's him, then it's Jackson Merrill, and then now just giving you the 3 most obvious, most highly priced players on this team, but is what it is. Merrill, 15.4% barrels, 5 homers, 330, 371, 530. He's been tremendous, continuing his success from last year. Speaking of tremendous, Gavin Sheets. Can we talk about Gavin Sheets again for a moment? 11 home runs now, slashing 275, 324, 509, a 234 ISO, 11.1% barrels, and 53.2% hard hits. It's essentially double the barrels. It's half again on top of the hard hits from last year and the year before. He's made tremendous strides in this growing sample of plate appearances. 350 xWOBA tells us it's kind of real. I'm as shocked as anybody, except probably whoever's making the DraftKings salaries. Because again, 3,900 is not caught up to the quality. 32, FanDuel's raising the price, but kind of hedging their bets that this isn't real. And I get that, but at least they're acknowledging some of it. 39 on DraftKings really has not acknowledged the quality so far. Xander Bogaerts, just 36.29. Quality enough, 335 on base. 94 WRC plus doesn't reflect the quality of the on base, the low strikeout, high walk nature. It's because he hasn't put enough quality balls in play. Once he starts doing that again, which I am a believer he will start doing at some point, I think we see a climb. I don't think we see a surge to even 15 home runs probably. But I think we see a rise in the WRC plus via some of the on base, the stolen base, the correlated scoring skills. Jake Cronenworth, Tyler Wade, Elias Diaz, mix and match quality, all of those guys. Cronenworth, easily the best option down there. Tyler Wade, not much of a bat at all. And Elias Diaz, the occasional home run. He's hit 3 in 128 plate appearances. Pivetta, Padres bats. Mitch Keller, I got to at least put him on the board, but it's only on DraftKings, not on FanDuel. And then maybe a couple loose darts. If you're building 150, a handful, 5-man Pirates, or like 3 5-mans and 2 3-mans or something like that, it's reasonable. It's not completely nuts. You're just chasing the quality of contact. Nats, D-backs. Love the D-backs today. We have their lineup. It is largely what was expected. Is Ketel Marte in it? Ketel Marte is in the lineup. He was carrying a Q tag on FanDuel, or their little, alarm. Pretty tremendous version of this lineup. Perdomo 3. I like that setup. Perdomo's still too expensive. They've at least lowered it by 200 on FanDuel. He's at 5,000 on DraftKings. I just missed the sneaky cheap Perdomo from the bottom of the lineup. He's just not that guy anymore, I guess, given the results this year. So far, 292, 391, 453. Crater runs 35% better than average. 6 homers, 11 steals. Not much of that is crazy surprising. It doesn't really reflect the contact he's made in terms of the 6 homers. That's kind of given you in the 161 ISO outside of those oddball home run events. It hasn't been too many extra base hits. I think he cools slightly around the edges, but he's always been low strikeout. He's always been high walk. He's been excellent at getting on base. The 3 spot is not a bad spot to put him. I honestly, I kind of believe in that. Reset the table for Josh Naylor, Eugenio Suarez, and all their power to follow. It's a good spot in the lineup for him. Corbin Carroll's a star at the top, 6,400. Ideal bat to throw at Jake Irvin. I completely bypassed talking about Jake Irvin because he's just bad. 3.42 ERA, but a 4.45 xFIP, 16.9% strikeouts. I think he surprised us last time out, if memory serves. Didn't he? Yeah, 8 innings of shutout ball against the Giants, 7 Ks. He's actually been decent in his last 4 outings. 6 1/3 of 2-run ball against the Orioles, 6 strikeouts. 6 innings of 3-run ball on 7 hits to Atlanta, allowed a home run and was shaky with 1 strikeout and 2 walks. 5 1/3, 2 earned runs, 4 hits. It's just declining as we go down this list, or as you go chronologically, it's actually improving. 2 earned runs over 5 1/3, no strikeouts, and 3 walks. I think the last 2 are kind of outliers based on what we know about this pitcher. He has been reasonable for depth. You do at least have to throw that onto the fire, but he's priced at 81-82 against one of the best lineups in baseball. And we know he's not as good as he was in a couple of those recent starts. 16.9% strikeouts is who he is. 7.3% swinging strikes. The xFIP at 4.45. 12.5% barrels. Way over the line on hard hits and exit velo and launch angle. He's gotten lucky to be at even 3.60 on the home runs. Last year, 3.77 on lower contact. Had a 20.3% strikeout against a 6.8% walk. 4.41 against a 4.03 for ERA and xFIP. Year before, 3.77 on the home run rate. Same matching number and similar but lower contact. So he's able to maintain a just barely stable home run rate on all that premium contact, but that includes some big downside games, right? When your average is there, you've given up some very bad games, and the Diamondbacks are the quality of team that would exploit that. 2 guys above the magic number for home runs, another 2 in the 9s. It's the usual suspects with Carroll, with Ketel Marte at 9.42, Josh Naylor at 9.93, and then leading the way, or tied for the lead at 11.31 exactly with Corbin Carroll, as Eugenio Suarez. Love him. 15 home runs on the board, 275, just a masher. Doesn't give you a ton else, but a 371 XWOB, but 275 ISO, 20% above average for run creation. Not bad on the strikeouts and the walks so far this year. Tons of barrels, tons of hard hits. For 48.33, he's fully priced or thereabouts, but love the player and an absolute priority in this lineup if we're targeting those power numbers from Jake Irvin. Naylor at 45.31 is honestly a little cheap for a guy with as good a slash line as he's got. Creating runs 22% better than average, 342 XWOB, but the power's down a little bit, but we were expecting that, and he's more than made up for it in every other way. So love Naylor here. Talked about everybody up top. Again, Carroll's just a star, 16 homers, 9 steals. You don't have to focus on it too much. You just put him in your lineups. Lourdes Gurriel at 36.28 is cheap. 245, 284, 431, but a stable 186 ISO, 8 home runs, medium contact that is reflective of who he's always been, low strikeout at 13.5, 5% walks. The walks are right in where they've been, and he's cut strikeout rate by a few points. There are things to like in here around the edges with Gurriel in what has been a disappointing results season. I think you just put him in your outfield at 36.28 if you need an extra guy from this team. Pavin Smith at 39 does have a positional conflict on DK, which sucks with Josh Naylor because you want him in lineups. 27 with outfield eligibility on FanDuel is great. 284, 392, 454, continuing to get on base, create runs. The power is dipped a little bit. The pace of the power is dipped significantly. Strikeouts are up at 30.1, but he's drawing a ton of walks and is a good bat, good on base option. Gabriel Moreno is another good on-base option and an excellent way to fill catcher for just 35 on DraftKings. A lot of hard hits out of him as well. 17.1% strikeouts, slashing 276, 335, 421, a 335 xWOBA, already creating runs 11% better than average. Going up against Jake Irvin, yes, that's a good way to differentiate and a good way to fill catcher. And then Alec Thomas is affordable at the bottom of the lineup. Merrill Kelly is a very mid-board type pitcher. Everything about his numbers so far this year is exactly on what I would expect from Merrill Kelly. 3.52 ERA, 3.53 xFIP. Tells you exactly what you need to know. He is who he looks like on the surface. 22.7% strikeouts against 6.3% walks. Last year, that was 21% against 6.3% walks. 4.03 ERA, 3.89 xFIP. I'm telling you, this is just who this guy is. He's an entirely league average pitcher. That means he can have very good days from time to time. It's just like what I said about the home runs a minute ago. Averages include some very good, some very bad, and a lot right in the middle when you come up as just right on the average. I don't mind Merrill Kelly here at 85, at 95 going up against the Nats, but I come down more on the side of the Nats bats. It's mostly about the top two and then just some hitters that I have at least some respect for in Nathaniel Lowe and his ability over time to either hit for power or get on base. Doesn't seem like he can reliably do the two at the same time anymore. This year we've gotten a little bit more pop, a little bit more ability to drive in runs than we've gotten him being a run creator and being on base. I think he's better when he's going the other way, but I'll take him at 4,000, 3,000. Do we have this lineup? We don't. But it's really, for me, again, all about CJ Abrams, James Wood, who continue to just mash at the top. Wood fully priced at 58.42, like the star that he now is. 288, 385, 571, 283 ISO, 15 homers, 9 steals. No looking back for this player. He's just a star. Deal with it. CJ at 53.35, maybe a little bit cheap on FanDuel, maybe a couple $100 on either site, really. 8 homers, 9 steals, 364 xWOBA, 227 ISO. Monster bat at the shortstop position. The third man in that trade, Robert Hassel III, down in the 7 spot, 2,600, 2,400. For what the talent is supposed to be, I'm a buyer at those prices. Hasn't given us much in 27 plate appearances, but has a homer on the board, a stolen base on the board, a couple good DFS days already. In between, Keibert Ruiz, Luis Garcia, Josh Bell, more mix and matchy with all three of those guys, especially when Garcia's kind of underperformed expectations so far. 5 homers, 7 steals, but just 250, 298, 401, a 368 xWOBA, 9.2% and 46.1% barrels and hard hits. Tell us that we should have expectations for it to trend back upward over time, which makes him playable, especially when he fits in at second base. But he's lower priority, I would say, than at least the top two. Keibert is just cheap bat on ball at the catcher spot, probably better on DraftKings, but 34, a little aggressive. I'd rather have him in the low 3s, a little lower than that. High 2s, I think, is appropriate. 84 WRC plus kind of tells you that story. And then Jose Tena and Dalen Lyle. We looked at Lyle on yesterday's show. He comes back in at the min price on both sites. A little bit of minor league pedigree there to maybe get excited about. And if you're rolling him when nobody else is, you can see the benefit of that. Going up against Merrill Kelly, this team could easily succeed, as easily as Kelly on the other side, with his medium strength numbers, could succeed against them. It's a back and forth situation. Vegas seems to prefer the Kelly side of it, with the Nats coming in at a 370 implied total. For me, this goes very much Diamondbacks bats, tie between Merrill Kelly and Nats bats. This would be a situation if I chose to take Merrill Kelly shares. And again, at those prices, I don't really think he's in play all that effectively for DFS. Just many better options at different prices, either above or below. But if you did it, I would kind of 1-to-1 ratio this with hedge stacks. I think it's that much of a coin flip decision. And maybe it just ends up with like a 4 or 5 run day against when it goes poorly for him and you don't really get your quality out of that. And the Nats are a top heavy stack. But I think I would kind of approach it that way because, again, very gettable. The D-backs bats are the thing to get excited about in that game, though. Last 2. We're getting there, gang. Zebby, going all the way back to the beginning of the show. 7.71 ERA so far, but a sparkling 1.80 xFIP underneath his ugly, bumpy performances in reality so far. 4 innings in his second start. He faced 18 Royals, struck out 9 of them. Again, when you're striking out half of the Royals you face, you've obviously got some pretty interesting stuff. Kid's one of the better pitching prospects in all of baseball, as measured by Stuff Plus in those 2 outings. A monster number, 9 points above average Stuff in his first couple outings. Phenomenal. Struck out 40%. But again, that comes with a 50% strikeout performance against 18 hitters. You have to take the small sample as what it is. He's also walked 11.4 in that. That explains the super high ERA. He's found 11.2% swinging, but not good on the CSW yet, especially not reflective of that. 2.0 whip is obviously ugly and way too high. Premium contact galore on a fly ball trajectory. So I'm every bit the believer in these Mariners home run numbers. What it might not be is a day where it stacks up and builds a huge total on the Mariners side. You can see that in the 380 implied from Vegas. This is a day where these home run numbers are more suggestive of like one of these guys is probably going to get Zebby for power. But I don't know that it means that you get 3 home runs out of that group of hitters, right? I think everybody follows that concept. So individually, these guys are each, and while these numbers are ignorant of each other's numbers, these guys are each very good home run options. That does not guarantee success for any one of them, but it improves the probability in my mind for the fact that one of these guys is probably fairly likely to go deep. And then it depends on what's on base. Great on base option along with those guys is JP Crawford. He's getting on at a 372 clip to lead off here. Tremendous shortstop option at 35.27. He's downright cheap for the correlated scoring that he provides, and he can connect with the baseball effectively. 6.5% barrel rate each of the last 2 years. Hit a handful of home runs a couple years ago when he was good. 17? 19. Damn. 380 on base, 19 home runs, 134 WRC plus 2 years ago before completely falling off for everything last year. He has returned to form, and it's been kind of quiet as far as the pricing algorithm is concerned. Jorge Polanco at 49, 3,000. Another guy we discussed with Gunn yesterday. 10 home runs. Monster resurgence from him as far as the premium contact, the power. One of the best stretches we've ever seen from this hitter. But it's a guy who has hit 30 home runs in the show. It's a guy we do kind of believe in, at least like 2 years ago going into that season, I was a believer. Has lost some time along the way, but he's here right now. I think we go there, especially at 3,000 on FanDuel. That price not really in line with the performance so far. Julio Rodriguez at 5,000 at 3,400, 10 homers, 7 steals, rounding into form as time goes on. He's a slow starter. I think we can safely say that now, but a lot of barrels, a lot of hard hits in a vacuum. Those are good barrel and hard hit numbers. They're not where he was, and they're not elite, but they're fine. Cal Raleigh is elite for premium contact, 23.4%, 48.9% barrels and hard hits. A monster, 14.43 in the home run model, 19 on the season. It was difficult to not make Cal the home run pick of the day, honestly. 379 on base to go with the tremendous power at 335 ISO, a 401 xWOBA, 179 WRC plus. One of the league leaders so far this season, just by straight up WAR, which is not a great stat in my opinion, but guy's just good and hits a lot for power. If you're taking bets going up against Zebby and all that availability of premium contact on a fly ball trajectory, Cal's a good money bet for power. Rowdy Tellez, kind of sneaky further down the lineup with a double-digit number in the home run model for just 31.25. He's hit 8 home runs in just 130 plate appearances, kind of quiet power, 235 ISO, a 351 xWOBA under the covers with 17.4% barrels, 44.2% hard hits in his batted ball events. He's not great. He strikes out too much, doesn't really draw walks. He's just looking for power. But against the rookie, even the high-end rookie here, could Zebby strike him out 3 times? Absolutely. He is that talented. Could Rowdy take Zebby deep once in 4 plate appearances while also striking out 3 times? Absolutely. He's got that kind of power, always has. Loaded Taveras, Dylan Moore, and Ben Williamson, mix and match at best. Dylan Moore is overpriced at 47. 29 is still reasonable on FanDuel. It's up there, but it's reasonable. At least it's not 3. 47 is stupid on DraftKings. That's unjustifiable. When again, that's a better example because Herrera actually is good. Dylan Moore, we know, is not really actually good. He's okay. He's a replacement level player with maybe a little bit here and there. They priced him at 47 when they're not moving prices on guys we know are good. That's so stupid. I don't get it. Drives me nuts. Williamson is just here for defense. Byron Buxton's supposed to be back for the Twins tonight. We do not have their confirmed. Oh, we did actually have the Mariners. Sorry about that. It's everybody I said except for Miles Boney is now in the 8th spot, and that's entirely skippable down there. But you actually don't have that Dylan Moore problem to deal with. So ignore the last 2 minutes of ranting and raving about his price tag. Twins bats against Brian Wu. Not a great idea. Wu, 24.1% Ks, 3.2% walks, 2.40 ERA, 3.36 xFIP. Phenomenal. He's just a very, very good pitcher. Last season, he's made strides from an already sparkling 21.4 and 2.8% walks, 2.89 ERA with a 3.75 xFIP. You can see Stuff Plus is technically up by 7/100ths of a point. Not all that much improvement. Swinging strikes actually down a little bit. CSW down a little bit. Whip still sub 1. Walks up tiny mark there. Barrel's definitely something to watch. Those could come and go a little bit. We don't know for sure what his ability to control power looks like. Last year, he was very, very good at it. This year, hasn't allowed many home runs, despite slipping a little for barrels, for hard hits, for exit velo. Exit velo is fine in the small sample. But at 95, even at 10-6 against a Minnesota team that is improved by returning Byron Buxton, but has plenty of strikeouts on deck for him and is kind of middle of the road overall. Love the Woo option today. No, I'm not going to woo into the microphone. But I do think maybe a twin stack or two across 150 is fine. If you build 20, maybe if they got in as a secondary stack, like around Buxton, Larnach, Correa, something like that, that's okay. But they're not a priority, not by any stretch. If you're going there, Buxton, assuming he's in the lineup, 54-36, not unfairly priced. He's a star caliber talent whenever he's healthy. 10 homers, 8 steals, a 261 ISO, was mashing 16.3% barrels, 55.8% hard hits. All of that's in line with who Byron Buxton is. He's just never healthy. Larnach, 39, 3,000, 7 homers, pretty decent contact, middle of the road so far this year at 7.2% barrels, but has maintained the hard hits despite the dip in barrels. I like him to return to form in the long-term sense, 321 xWOBA. Carlos Correa maintaining a decent hard hit rate. The barrels have slipped. Strikeouts are up slightly, but still very good. 5.1% walks is the concern. 250, 287, 375. Not giving him the on base that I need, but still a very good player, and he's gotten cheap at shortstop. If you're going there, you prioritize Carlos Correa until further notice. Brooks Lee, 3,025, 4 home runs, mediocre. Ryan Jeffers, 38-27, a playable catcher bat, 7.19 in the home run model. Decent premium contact numbers that are in line with expectations in previous seasons. Respectable strikeout to walk. Ty France, mix and match caliber contact hitter, 254, 319, 358 this year. The underlying 352 xWOB is interesting. 14.6% Ks is way down and more reflective of the guy he used to be. Walks are down, so you're just buying some balls in play there, but they've been good balls in play so far. I'm not uninterested if I'm building a bunch of twin stacks, but it's probably not the day to do that. Royce Lewis still is a star in my mind, despite 70 pretty bad plate appearances. You're just getting Royce Lewis cheap. He has made good contact when he's put bat on ball. I think he's just sneaky down there. Willie Castro, mix and match quality player at 3,026. Gotten a bad season so far this year. We've gotten better performances the last 2, but he's nobody's priority. A lot of positions on FanDuel, though, for a cheap price. Brian Wu, Mariners bats. Zebby Matthews for cheap, and I do think he's playable on both. And really not that many Twins shares. Maybe just a few around the edges. Last game up. Talk of the town. World Series rematch. Yanks-Dodgers. Max Fried on the bump going up against Tony Gonsolin. One of these things not quite like the other. No disrespect to Mr. Gonsolin because he's always been at least effective for strikeouts. But not a lot of sample last year. None, in fact. 103 innings 2 years ago. Again, not a lot of sample. 18.9% Ks, but 9.2% walks. Nearly a 5 ERA and a 5.25 xFIP. Wasn't very good. 23.9% Ks was effective that season in 130 innings, 24 starts. I believe a little bit of work out of the pen in a hybrid role that season as well. He's always been all right for Ks, but there's too many warts to really consider him all that much up against the Yankees. Just feels like a bad spot. 469 total for the Yanks, 440 implied for the Dodgers. Max Fried is the guy that you want if you're rostering pitching in this game, but even him, I consider it a little bit shaky. 10-3, 10,000. Strikeouts are up at 24.2. Swinging strikes at 9.6. Just walking 5.8. A terrific strikeout to walk. He's one of the better pitchers for depth in all of baseball, typically giving you 6 and change, if not 7 innings, 70 innings in 11 starts, even with Boone's quick hook. Not bad. 1.29 ERA is betrayed a little by a 3.20 xFIP, but that's still a sparkling xFIP. Just a 1% home run rate. He's always been difficult to homer against. Another guy who keeps the ball on the ground and keeps launch angle to 6.6 degrees this year. Last year, 3.0 and a 1.82 home run rate. Year before, 4.8 and a 2.25 home run rate. So there's a lot to like about Max, even against the Dodgers. But on a day where I've got so many options, I've got respectable options. There's 4 guys in that price range that are ace caliber and above him. Why do I want to tangle with the Dodgers? I think that's how Max plays today. I do think this gives you the opportunity to buy him at cheap ownership. I think that if you were getting that plus, if they had dipped into the 9s even, it would be more appealing. I'd be arguing a little bit stronger for it. I just don't love targeting the Dodgers. They're low strikeout. They're the Dodgers. They're Shohei Ohtani plus. It's difficult. He's not off the board. It's not crazy to play some shares, but it's difficult. It's a real challenge spot for Max. Yankees bats, priority for me, 469 implied total with Aaron Judge at a 15.45 in the home run model and some respectable power around Trent Grisham, around Cody Bellinger and the premium contact they've made. I continue to think that Grisham is swinging is, way out over his skis as far as the performance goes versus what we know about this hitter over time. 12 home runs, but it's been a couple of days. 255, 352, 523. I feel like we're cooling a little bit in those departments. 44% hard hits, I think, is down slightly, and it's down actually from last year in just 200 and change plate appearances. He's always put barrels on the ball. He's always been effective enough for some upside, but this was the best stretch that we'll probably ever see from Trent Grisham. I think we continue to slide downward a little bit. As long as he's leading off the head of that collection of hitters or honestly hitting anywhere in the heart of the lineup, I do still like the upside, though, against any gettable righty. There's plenty of upside there, and Gonsolin's given up some power so far this year, 3.70% home runs, 10.4% barrels. To me, Bellinger's a much bigger priority, though, than Trent Grisham. If I'm going with one of these outfielders not named Aaron Judge, it's probably Trent Grisham there. Jason Dominguez makes a good argument, though, when you get him against a righty from the left side. That is a premium spot. 9.4% barrels, 51.9% hard hits now. He's hit 6 home runs off that, just a 174 ISO, but a 337 xWOBA under the covers. He's also drawing a 13.1% walk rate. For a kid that is reputationally a power bat and a loose free swinger, that's a monster uptick in walks. 28.4% strikeouts is still high, but against that walk rate, it is not at all problematic. The thing he struggles with is, in addition to defense, is hitting the other way or hitting as a righty against the lefty. That's when you don't really want him. But from this side, on the positive side of splits, love it. Paul Goldschmidt in the middle of Bellinger and Dominguez for 47 for 35, a guy who's slashing 347, 404, 495 with lurking power still, 5 home runs on the board, not nothing, tons of contact and decent contact, 8.3% barrels, just under 40% hard hits. It's not the power bat he once was, but he's still a tremendous hitter in the heart of the Yankees lineup with all the quality guys for on base and drawing walks in front of him. Somebody's going to drive those guys in. Why wouldn't it be Paul Goldschmidt? And he can reset the table for the guys behind him. Anthony Volpe's better when they're facing a lefty, but 10.3% barrels overall, 47.6% hard hits overall, 6 homers, 7 steals, mix and match quality option at shortstop, if we're being honest. And 4,800 on DraftKings is a little high priced. 32 on FanDuel feels more playable for Volpe. Austin Wells, big lefty bat there, 10.8% barrels, 47.5% hard hits, 8 homers. You're just getting like empty home run performances more often than not out of Wells, but he was better than that last year for walks, better than that for on base. I think we see a rise overall for the season. No guarantees it comes today, though. DJ and Jordi Vivas at the bottom of the lineup are mix and match quality. Right now, DJ is not giving us much, but at least he puts good wood on the ball still. 7.1% barrels, 46% hard hits in just 41 plate appearances. Results haven't been there. It was a weak 200 and change plate appearances last year, but 15 home runs in 500 plus plate appearances the year before. Not as bad as people might remember. Vivas has given us very, very little work with at the major league level outside of a name that they can pencil into one of the infield positions. Again, Gleyber Torres should still be a Yankee. Dodgers bats to round things out. You can absolutely target Max Fried with them, but it's not the Dodgers like they would normally be. They're mid-board today, mid-board total at 440. Impact to, if you can see Shohei Ohtani at an 8 in the home run model, and then everybody else in the 5 territory or below, that's significant. Ohtani's usually in the double this range, 20 home runs on the board. It's Shohei Ohtani. You can easily play Shohei Ohtani against anybody, first base or outfield, take your pick. It's a high price to face Max Fried with anybody, though. Mookie Betts, 52.37, same kind of thing applies. Mookie at 254, 338, 405. Underwhelming season so far, but a 341 xWOBA, 8 home runs has been fine, but any further underperformance, and we start to talk again about being a little concerned about Mookie's weight loss and all those different things. Fortunately for him, he doesn't really strike out. He draws a ton of walks, and he's going to be fine. Teoscar Hernandez, all the power in the world, 10 home runs, also a great slash line this year. 5.21 in the home run model, though, because it's difficult to hit homers against Max. I could see Teoscar trending back up toward his previous season strikeout rates for the day today. Freddie Freeman, even against a lefty, and a lefty he knows quite well, very in play, 359, 427, 617, 9 home runs. It's the peak version of Freddie Freeman. If you're going Dodgers, you put him in. It's just not great reasons to go to the Dodgers today and to pay all those high prices for Dodgers against such a good pitcher. Will Smith, 5,034, another priority bat if you go to the Dodgers. 338, 457, 518, ludicrous numbers from the catcher spot. 13.5% barrel rate. He's just tremendous any given slate. Andy Pajes for 4, 29 on FanDuel, has 9 home runs on the board. I feel like a lot of those came in a hurry at the beginning of the season, but he's been decent over 211 opportunities. Tommy Edmonds, the guy who dramatically cooled off, and we were expecting that. 225, 271, 444. Looking a lot more like Tommy Edmonds these days. Enrique Hernandez, Miguel Rojas, mix and match quality. A lot of positions for cheap prices, but they don't give you a ton. Enrique at least has hit 7 home runs, oddly this year, 218 ISO. Kind of a blip for power there. He's always been capable of hitting home runs, but never really delivers that many. He hit 12 in 393 chances last year, 11 in 508. So 7 in 123 is most definitely a blip, but there's a bat there at least a little bit. Yankees bats. Tie between Max Fried and Dodgers. Nah, I can't do that. Yankees bats, Max Fried, but probably not a great option and probably too highly priced to face the Dodgers. And then Dodgers, probably not a great option, probably too highly priced to be facing Max Fried. Good pitching will beat good hitting more often than not. 6:15, 6:14. As Larry says, almost there. Glad I always have snacks on my desk. I'm glad I took a leak before this show started too. Nearly a 3-hour show. Love all you guys who are still here hanging out. Love every single one of you who's still catching up, and we'll hear this probably after lock. Everybody who came and went during the show, especially if you happen to hit the like button or subscribe along the way. Check out rotoscouts.com. All you guys rock. Let me punch out of here so I can update the site real quick. That'll be up in the next 2 to 3 minutes. No basketball, no hockey to worry about tonight. Should be a fun slate, guys. There are so many great options to work with. Let me give you one last look at the pitching board. I'm not going to talk it all the way through, but let me just show you one last time how those things stack up, right? You've got this great pocket of pitchers up here, and that's why I kind of don't need to use Max to tangle with the Dodgers much as I might want to. There's so much good there, and then you get into some cheap and relatively talented mid-board guys in not terrible matchups. Any one of those guys wouldn't shock me to succeed. Pepio is in that mix too. I'll give Keller that mix too. I just don't love him at the FanDuel price and against that opponent. I think he's lower end than a lot of these guys. And then we get a little bit more shaky down here. Mize is also in that conversation, but the 9,800, the 8,900 takes him out of that conversation a little bit, offset by price to everybody from this range. Priority pitchers here. This is your total wild card. I can't suppress those strikeouts against that team without really pressing down hard with my thumb on the scale. I have very little faith that that's actually going to come through, but at those prices, I want to be a part of the people that find out because I am a believer in the strikeout stuff and the quality of some of his pitches. It's just a deadly bad matchup given the Angels' ability to put bat on ball and their power and Mike Trout being back in the lineup. Total wild card for your slate. I'm going to end things there. Thank you, Lar. Thank you, everybody else. Good luck out there tonight, gang. Somebody go win something. Share those results in Discord, on Twitter when you do. Follow the @rotoscouts Twitter handle too, by the way. I appreciate that. And we will be back on Monday for more of this, full projections and everything as usual through the weekend. Let's go Knicks. Let's go you guys. Let's go some of my lineups too. Later, gang.